Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Some BS right there. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Woo! It is Tuesday after an opening week win. So, no, you're not seeing things. If we can take the wide shot, Bull is still out today. He's recovering, and Jason Lloyd is in his place.
It's a pony.
So the deal with I think we should address this right off the top. Yeah. G. Bush and I mean, we were just kind of thunderstruck yesterday. Yeah. We thought it was a gag.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Bull goes to the Steelers-Bengals game, first time it had been brought up the entire show, he reaches for the trash can, which he had sitting next to him because he initially had called out of work yesterday. Then he's decided, no. I have to dance on Baker's grave.
He's like, it's worth bringing this virus into the whole team.
Yeah, let's make everyone
so that I can.
What he did was he had a bad migraine, which I think he brought on from the guys. The stress that Bull puts on himself during a game on a normal basis is immense. But this was Bull's Super Bowl of all Super Bowls.
It had to go okay.
It had to go okay.
It had to.
Hey.
And the fact that for one brief moment there, or 10 minutes in clock time, real time, it looked like it was not going to end well, and he was going to have to sit in that chair yesterday and face that music. Yeah, I think it was almost self-induced. I'm not a doctor, and now 30 years from now, when I really do look like that, maybe I'll be a doctor.
See how they did you? They could have.
Dude, that is the worst depiction of any human I've ever seen.
Like they didn't give you no coloring on the hair. They could have outlined that boy.
It's just a stencil of George W. Bush. It's clearly just a stencil.
I made somebody mad. Who did that? I know it's Cleveland Clothing Company, but did they actually do the cartoon look or what?
They have a cartoonist.
Yeah, I bet they do.
I think it's uncanny.
Well, they look just like me.
They did. You know what? I think they nailed you to a T.
Yeah.
Bull, the baby arms.
Bull, you got to feel better, buddy.
They got Tyvis perfectly,
but his teeth are a little bit Beavis and Butthead-ish.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know.
I like you trying to give us a good flat surface
I'm
right now.
In my gut. I haven't breathed
so everything's not contorted.
So anyhow,
doesn't look like we're all falling down a hill.
Our thoughts are with Adam today. I guess he slept 15 hours yesterday. That was his body's way of saying, you put too much stress on me yesterday, so I'm going to take
What a break for his wife, too. Honestly.
Well, I texted with him a little bit yesterday, and he said he had taken a 3-hour nap, and he was feeling much, much better.
Yeah, I was texting as well.
I took a 10-hour nap. I'm feeling much louder. Thank you.
I don't think you can get any louder. but Bull, in all seriousness, our thoughts are with you today. Get well soon. And I'm glad this game is behind all of us, but I'm more particularly thrilled that it's behind Bull.
Yes.
Because I don't know that I've ever seen a human body stress and react.
Yeah, he's convalescing now. He's getting better after a long
The funny thing was, somebody hit G. Bush up on Twitter when it wasn't going well and said, hey, has anybody checked on Jay Crawford?
Check.
Yeah, I remember that.
And G. Bush was like, yeah, I have. Fam, he's resting comfortably in stable condition. And I'm like, oh, he who talks too early can never get that foot out of their mouth.
And then I was like, man, you know Jay don't tweet. I was like, yes, like, if he gives me a tweet on this, I know he's up watching this game.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell that fourth quarter came. And
it got crickets in our chat, by the way.
It got quiet as hell. When Baker ran that touchdown in and threw that ball against that little backdrop and you see it on the field, I was like, oh.
All the quips stopped.
Then I wanted to check on your condition and Bull's condition.
Hey, listen, I told my wife, I'm not taking any calls. No phone calls.
I'm going off the grid.
I'm off the grid, but I turned my Wi-Fi off. I unplugged the internet.
Changed his name legally.
Yeah, all right. We ain't going to do this. Not today.
All right.
Before we get into today's stuff.
What's that?
You were in Carolina for
I
the
was,
game.
yes.
Can you just give us a real quick update on what
what was it like
stadium
there?
situation and what that whole drama at the end was like from a fan's perspective in Carolina?
It was something else. It was demoralizing for that fan base, obviously, although they already feel pretty broken. They really do feel like a Browns-based junior because they, as I mentioned to you guys, it's like they have the same chip on their shoulder. They have the same sense of like frustration, but without the success of like the 1960s to reflect back on fondly and the statuary outside the stadium where they can be like, we were good once though, weren't we? You know, like, so they've already got they're a little bit of insecurity there, but we honestly, I swear we had to be at least as loud as that fan base there. There were so many Browns fans there.
It felt like a Browns home game.
Not only were there so many Browns fans there, but I think that they are just significantly louder and probably drunker, I think, because of just everything we're going through, maybe. But they traveled really well. You could not go 10 feet without getting barked at or running into somebody from Cleveland. Of course, and when you're down there, because Cleveland's such a small town, I'm like, hey, it's my dentist. Like, one out of every 3 people is just like, what's up, Mike? And I'm like, oh, yeah.
There's a lot of Cleveland people in Charlotte. I lived there for almost 2 years, and it's like, you can go down the street and you go to a bar, they just pulled up and they just watching the game. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, a lot of them escape. Like, that's like the kind of a close way to escape this weather, where you're not making a huge commitment like going to Florida or LA or something like that, but you're getting into slightly nicer weather, so you're not as miserable during the winter. So they do get a lot of that.
Browns fan bases are everywhere. My son goes to a Browns backers bar in New York, and he sent the video to me of post kick.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, I'm willing to bet.
I saw that video.
I mean, it looked like a Cleveland sports bar.
Right.
There were easily 300 people there, and they absolutely
was that
went nuts.
I know that it's like Brother something.
Yeah, my son goes there every week.
I was working.
I know the guy that kind of organizes
a ton of
does
Browns.
a great job with it.
They have a ton of Browns backers bars, obviously, all over the country.
When he was at the Olympic Training Center, he would go to the Browns backers bar in San Diego, and that would be packed to the gills. I actually went once with him.
We were in Brazil for Cavs preseason game with the Heat, the Browns' first year back. There was a Browns bar in Rio de Janeiro. They had the Browns
Are
game
you
on.
kidding me?
And they had a Browns game on in Rio de Janeiro.
How many fans? Were you there during a game?
Yeah, we watched the game there. My wife and I, Beth McLeod was there.
Yeah.
A bunch of Cavs people.
That's crazy.
It wasn't it wasn't like what we saw in New York, but it had the Browns game on.
It's a mixed bag because they say we have the most. So I think us in Pittsburgh have the most backers bars for us.
Even more than the Cowboys.
And
huh?
part of it's supposed to be. Well, the thing is, it's supposed to be good. We all leave.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I didn't want to say it.
Exactly.
But that's exactly why they're all over the place.
There aren't a lot of San
We're the
Diego
only idiots that stayed in
backers
Cleveland.
bars.
Everybody else left.
Yeah, I wonder how that Chargers backers bar does
Chargers backers
in Strongsville.
Exactly. But we all get out of here. But I saw it was fun to watch the Charlotte crowd go through the entire Baker Mayfield experience within 4 quarters.
Yeah, they got the full-on experience.
I don't know I still haven't rewatched the game. I literally got back. Our flight got canceled last night, and I got up and flew at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then came here after a nice connection in Detroit. Kid Rock sends his love.
That's the flight I was on yesterday morning.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was on that one. That's where I came from.
Shout out to Trick
So I
Trick.
still stink like Charlotte. But watching that, so I couldn't watch the game yet, but he was getting, you have to tell me this. He was getting booed in the first quarter.
It came through.
And I'm listening to it, I'm just like, man, they got, hey, no pun intended here, but they got this guy on a short leash. Because if they are this far in and they are already booing him, that is not.
I think the 6 yards in the first quarter had something to do with that.
But that didn't help. But first of all, I'm thinking to myself, who's behind this? You guys, your second string and third string quarterback are out.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be bringing. What's your best case scenario? You're bringing in. I don't even know who the backup guy was.
I think McCaffrey now.
PJ Walker.
But then I watched that fan base, though. I saw what Baker does. Because I watched him chip back in, show some heart, get hit, get back up and stuff. And I saw this fan base like, okay, gotta respect that. And I saw him be like, this guy's really doing it. And I saw them like, and then I'm watching it happen. I'm just like, this guy did this to us for 4 years. It's the exact same thing. And then he blew it, and they're all just like,
Wait, how did he blow it?
Well, you know what I mean. They blew it.
They lost the game.
Because Jason and I were in agreement yesterday. Like, they didn't lose that game because of Baker Mayfield.
Well, he didn't do him any favors in the first half.
No, but he had him in position. He had him up with a minute to go.
And we are not going to get into a Baker whose fault was this.
No, we're not. We're not going to relitigate that.
Attaboy.
We have to talk about the Jets. Not letting us go down that
Let's
path.
do this. Let's do this. It's 11:09 on Tuesday.
Yes.
We're officially turning the page.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Like, it's over.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll never come up again.
We're talking about the Jets game now.
Here's what I'm going to do. As the resident member and I will represent Adam the Bull. We will sign the peace treaty with all Baker Bros and affiliates that we will now turn the page.
That's a great idea.
We shall smoke the peace pipe.
We're all on the same
it's a
damn
good thing
team
Bull's
here.
not here. He might be getting in the car and driving out here.
You know what? So here's what would happen if he was there. You know what? I'm not ready to turn the page yet. I want to tell you something right now. Baker sucks! Baker sucks!
I know we've turned the page already, but I think I can speak for Bull when I say that he wishes that Baker was starting for us against New York this week. I think that he would say that, right? Wouldn't he?
I don't know that he would say he wishes, but I think he would say we'd probably have a better chance of winning.
Yes.
To waste a wish on that, I'm not sure he would go that far.
No. I'm kidding. He would say, I'm glad the bum's gone.
So every morning, our producers put together a little social media tweet, and some days I copy it and paste it. Some days I forget. Today, McNugget sent one that I put out early this morning.
Immediately.
And it basically said, Ravens gash the Jets' pass defense. Can the Browns do the same? And I just cut it, pasted it, boom, sent it.
Right. You thought you had all kind of insight.
And then when I went back and read it again, I'm like,
what?
Hold up. I wouldn't use the word. You didn't say gash. What did you say?
Say carve up.
Carve up.
Okay.
They did.
Carve up. They really didn't.
3 touchdown passes.
They
of
had
at least 20 yards.
They had 210 yards or so in passing yards.
Did you, Zach? Did you look into the advanced stats here? They barely had the ball.
Wait a minute.
They scored 24 points.
Here's
easy.
what carved up is to me. Carved up is 450 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. That's carved up.
I would say
Did they carve up the Jets defense?
My carve ain't that high.
Right.
My carve,
Your carve is it?
My carve is like.
What's your carve up?
My carve is like 320.
Even for Lamar Jackson?
Oh, for Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson threw 3 touchdowns and it's over 20 yards, for him that's a record day. He was killing the game. He went home feeling good about
Jason,
himself.
is that carved up?
It depends on the game. Depends on the game situation. I think what happened to the Jets against the Ravens was the safeties let them down. The Jets have really good cornerbacks.
Is that because the fear of Lamar running the ball?
Yes.
He did not run the ball well at all. It's almost like the Jets decided, okay,
we're going to sell out.
Lamar's not beating us with his feet.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can beat us with his arm, and he did.
Especially on the long touchdown, the Rashad Bateman, I think 55
Yeah,
yard
55
touchdown.
yards to Bateman.
I think that they caught the safety sneaking up, peeking,
definitely.
and they caught him on a long run. So it wasn't. There you see the numbers on Sauce Gardner and what he did as a rookie, obviously. But the Jets' corners are really, really good. I think the safety's a little bit susceptible, particularly against teams that like to run the ball. You mentioned Lamar Jackson. Obviously, the Browns fit that mold, not so much with Jacoby, but with the guys in the backfield. So you might be able to catch the safeties.
Yeah.
But the corners are really good. I guess that's the best way I would answer.
So then the next part to that question is whether or not he carved them up. He had some success.
Yeah.
My question is, based on what we saw from Jacoby Brissett in week 1, we know that they're going to probably put 8 in the box, maybe at times 9. They're going to beat the Browns, you got to do what? You got to stop the run game. So they're going to be heavy key on Hunt and Chubb. If those safeties get over aggressive and start peeking in, does Brissett have the ability to find the guy behind the secondary or take advantage of one of those? Because I didn't see that on Sunday at all.
Go ahead, Poke. You take this from me.
I will.
Ahead,
let me try and sum this up. No. No, he does not. He definitely does not.
You don't even need to qualify.
I do not have a lot of faith in that. No, that's not going to happen. I mean,
G. Bush, to you?
I just tossed it to my man.
But the good news is, I think
you know.
I do think. I think that I think Baltimore had that option, and so they exploited that. And they didn't have a lot of options in the run game, right? Wasn't Dobbins out? Or am I wrong?
Dobbins was out. They
was out.
signed, I think, Kenyon Drake the week of the game, or maybe a week earlier.
So we pretty much have the opposite problem. We have an immobile quarterback and who can't throw, and they have a mobile quarterback and kind of throw, and they have no running game, and we had a running game. So I think it'll just be. I just don't think that just whatever their defense did last week. I don't think we're going to be approaching it from an offensive perspective entirely differently. So I don't know if it's representative of how we'll look.
But Jay, your point is you got to throw at some point.
Well, I don't know about that.
Slow down on that.
I'll compare it to like this.
Really?
I'll compare it to like this. You know how you're a guy, right? Every man has only 2 pairs of jeans. One of those are his going out jeans. If your wife says, "Hey, babe, Let's go to the store and get you another pair. You're like, these are my worn. These are broke in.
Yeah, these are fine.
These are good. What do you mean? These
I'm
go with everything.
man. I've got about 50 pairs.
One of them pairs is broken and ready to go, and that's your moneymaker. You know what you look best in. This is my shirt. I'm putting that on, and I'm gonna wear it out. And this is what we're gonna do. Now, as far as the Baltimore Ravens go, and as far as the Cleveland Browns go, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson is exponentially better. People think he can't throw, but he just showed you the different levels. Even the guy that you think can't throw just threw for 3 touchdown passes.
Against the Jets.
That's why I was surprised when you said for Lamar Jackson, 3 touchdowns was a record day. I think this guy can throw.
Well,
I've seen him throw at an MVP level.
Well, compared to Jacoby Brissett,
he can throw.
He can throw, and the Browns will be doing exactly what they did with that one pair of jeans, which is the run game. And if you don't, who cares if we know you're going to wear them? That's what we're going to do.
And don't even dress it up.
No, we're not dress it.
In this scenario, Jacoby's a stiff pair of jeans from the Gap. Is that what I'm getting? Okay, just making sure.
It's probably too tight.
Just making sure.
The numbers that we've ran out all along about running doesn't guarantee you anything. You have to throw the ball to win. Yes, I agree with you. At some point, they're going to have to throw the ball to win a game. I don't know if this is that game.
Yeah, maybe not the Jets.
I think that with the Jets are not that
Their
good.
offense looked absolutely backwards.
Yeah, the Jets are awful. With Joe Flacco, wow. And their line is a wreck. I'm sure we'll probably get into this later in the week.
Yep.
I don't want to take Mikey's material for later in the week.
Right.
Their left tackle, they just put on IR, so their right tackle is now their left tackle.
Yeah.
He had a bad day. Myles could go nuts. Their tackles are not good. Like, the Jets can't move the ball. So I don't think this is the day where we say they have to throw the ball to win. Could they catch them? Like, the pass interference at the goal line on the duck that Brissett threw and the Panthers DB bailed him out. Was that? I don't remember now. Was that DPJ? At the goal line?
It was Amari.
It was Cooper. Okay. So you might catch him on one of those. You might be able to pop one. Honestly, I think if someone's going to have a big catch, it could be DPJ or Schwartz.
I forgot
just
about
because
that
those.
play.
And yeah, you know what? A lot of people did because it didn't factor much into the game. But guys, that ball's picked.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
And even if there's not pass interference on that play, that ball is picked.
He was beat so badly.
It was
His DB
bad.
was beat so badly, he just wrapped him. When all he had to do was turn around, he could have picked it.
Right.
That's how badly it was.
Yeah, I don't think he knew where the he
had
knew
no
that
idea where
Cooper
the ball
was
was.
doing
By the way,
this,
in
and
that-
he
no idea
just
where the
said,
ball
"I'm going to
was.
tackle him."
It was
saw
a
a stat.
stupid play because you get the ball at the 1 yard.
The funny thing was
Absolutely.
being there live for that real quick and watching the crowd because I saw that. And, we always complain if you're the home team about whatever call, particularly
yeah.
pass interference.
Yeah.
And
They
watching
didn't
the
complain
crowd.
about that
No,
one,
at
did
first though, because you can't see from everywhere.
Right.
And all they can't see what happened. They don't see the replay yet.
They see the pick, they're all excited.
They're all like, oh, when they see the flag, they're like, no, and then they showed it. They're like, okay, no, that
you
was
can't argue that
he
one.
tackled him like 8
There was-
seconds before
on
the ball.
ESPN, they broke that play down, and they have the expected completion percentage. They said that ball was underthrown by 24.5 yards. To put in perspective of how.
Well, wait a minute. 24.5 yards, he'd be 20 year olds
No,
deep
but
in the
that's what I'm
stands.
saying. Based on how he was open, like at his current speed,
Right.
it was 24. Where it landed was 24 yards short.
So,
of
Mike,
where
your
Cooper
answer
was.
was the best answer.
Yeah.
Is he equipped to take advantage of that?
Yeah.
No.
What
No,
do they
no,
got
he's
on ESPN? They got Doppler radar now?
No, you know what they do? They have, first
Do
of
you realize
all,
24 yards is like 72 feet? That's 7
How much is
basketball.
it?
That's a quarter of the field.
yeah, I don't even know how you underthrow a guy that much. What's fascinating to me is they have all these simulated computer programs that will tell you the percentage that ball had a chance of being completed. And I bet that was 0.1.
Just Jacoby Brissett's luck that all this new technology comes out right when he's starting for us. It's just like, can we put all the radars away?
The
and
technology
everything?
that I
know I'm
most
bad.
love is I think CBS was using it, but they didn't have it at the Browns game. I wish they had. On field goals, they tell you 47-yard try, then it says would have been good from 58.
Yeah.
And they're doing that based on the trajectory of the ball and the 10 feet high crossbar. That is outstanding technology, and I hope we get to see Cade York, because I would have loved to have seen what Cade's would have been good from.
Well, did you see right before the show came on, the Pro Football Talk story, Mikey, I don't know if you have it, where Florio said, like, he saw an end zone view, and when Matt Rule was complaining that it was a fake spike, he was right. And it should have been a 68-yard attempt.
Yes. And it probably would have been good.
But who knows if Stefanski even sends him out there to attempt a 68-yard.
Well, you see the situation last night.
I mean, what do you do? We can get into that. But what do you do if you're the Browns? Do you attempt a 68-yard kick with a rookie in his first game?
And
or a quarterback who can't even get it to the 20?
And it would have been third down. No, because it's a loss of down on that penalty.
It's a loss of down.
You would have had to kick.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have had to have kicked. Because His range, we know, we've seen it, is 70 yards in pregame.
Right.
That would have been. Can you imagine if he broke the NFL record in his first game?
So
That's crazy.
So we can use that if we can take 30 seconds to talk about the game last night. Did you guys see the game?
Oh my God, did I see it?
Hey, before we go into
Russell
last night's
Wilson,
game, can
go
I
ahead.
drop one more stat for you guys?
Yep.
This just came out. Pro Football Focus released their grades for Week 1.
Yes.
You want to hear how some of the Browns ranked?
I would love to.
Terrible.
And then we'll get into last night's decision because it is worth talking about. Jacoby Brissett, the 29th rated quarterback with a PFF grade of 46.9.
Who was lower?
Yeah, who was worse?
That makes 3 worse.
Baker
Mayfield
Mayfield was
was.
28
Oh, wow.
with
he
a
was higher.
47, so 0.1 above.
Wow.
Nick Chubb was the 4th rated running back. Wyatt Teller, the number 1 overall guard. James Hudson, the number 11 tackle, filling in for Jack Conklin. He did a great
That's
job.
right. You know what?
That's
We didn't call
You
his
didn't
name
say
much.
his name
The
once.
fact that we haven't mentioned him and it's
And
now
it's-
Tuesday.
Now, the kicker is tell him Jedrick Wills' grade. Gee, man, he crispy.
I'll have to look at his. He's not listed in the top of anything.
50.
Martin Emerson,
50.
Martin Emerson, yeah.
19, cornerback,
Okay.
19. Joker, number 7 linebacker. Walker,
Wow.
number 7 linebacker. And Myles Garrett, number 1 overall player in the NFL.
Highest rated defensive player of Week 1.
Oh, no, overall, offensive or defensive.
Oh,
94.
I just thought defense. I
Number
didn't
one,
know.
nope,
Wow.
number 1
Ni-
overall player.
I got to say, that
94.
surprised the hell out of me.
94. Do you know? I talk to John
That's
Costco
almost
all the time.
impossible to
We have
get
him all
that.
the time. It's almost impossible to get a 90, 94 like that, especially as many plays as he played. That's crazy.
Yeah, it blows your mind.
And guess what? Like I just said, the Jets left tackle, they're a mess.
Yeah,
so
he's going to have a
he could have another
feast
big
against
day.
the
That's
Jets.
delicious. I ran into Emerson's dad after the game
Did
in
you really?
Carolina. Yeah, and we were just out doing some stuff for the station, grabbing some stuff, and he just they're like, he was with his family, and it's like, do you know who this is? And I'm like, yeah, I'm familiar with the fathers of all of the rookies.
Yeah,
and what they
I
look
committed
like.
them all to memory.
No,
Yeah.
but I talked to him. He was real proud. Of course, he looked like he was like 28 years old. The dad does. You know? I'm like, are you not still playing?
Black don't crack.
It was, man. And then, but also the kids, like, I'm sure that the kid's like 20, so
Sure.
it makes sense. But
How
anyways,
was Dad? Good
he was
dude?
good dude, super
Yeah.
proud of his son, good family,
Right.
and the family
I
was
love
all
to hear
cool,
that.
super excited. They're Floridians. They came up for the.
And he played well.
Yeah.
Really well.
So this is worth mentioning. I was kind of annoyed on draft day when they traded down because George Pickens was available. Some of those other top receivers were.
I was
They
too.
passed on all of those guys,
Yep.
but they came away with Martin Emerson and Cade York out of that deal.
Yeah,
they traded down to get the extra 4th to use on the kicker.
And those were the
agree.
2 best performing rookies,
agree.
in my view, from Week 1.
So we got to let time play out on all these trades and drafts and
Yeah.
everything else. And the catch that Pickens made on Sunday was
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing
I think
catch.
he's going to be a stud.
He's gonna be a
Yeah, it looked
monster.
like it.
He's
It
gonna be a
really
monster.
looked like
But
it.
if the-
And a big spot, too,
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
But Emerson's a really big corner. And remember, a lot of people on draft day were kind of raising an eyebrow at the Browns going, you reached on him, that's
Yeah.
too high. But if they hit on that, and obviously with Cade, I think that was a trade with the Texans too. So going back to Houston, they didn't help him with Deshaun winning that game, but Houston may have really given the Browns a couple of good players with that draft.
Are you hearing good things about Emerson though? People are liking him.
He had a good camp.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
they-
Yeah.
Well, the interception,
yeah,
the
he
pick
had
six that he
pick
had,
six, yeah.
he looked physical. He's not afraid to go up and fight for the football, not just strip it away or knock it away.
And his size, I'm telling you, man.
And
he's
They don't
bigger.
have guys like that. He's
No.
long, right?
No.
And
Big and long.
I have not seen him turning around looking at Delpit and John Johnson like, who was that?
Right.
Yeah,
What
right.
happened? Was that me or was that you?
Yeah.
I ain't see all that. We got a little time left, but I like what he does.
Good.
All right, as we look at this matchup, and today we're going to talk mostly about how the Browns' offense attacks the Ravens' defense. The one thing that was a little bit concerning to me is I just glanced at the numbers. I didn't watch every play from that game. The Jets' defense did hold the Ravens to 63 yards. Now, obviously, the Ravens' running back is their backfield's a mess. They signed Drake, I think, the week of the game when it was obvious that Dobbins wasn't going to go. But they still held them to 63 yards, and that includes a really interesting day for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson did not look like Lamar Jackson on the ground. And so let's try to extrapolate that Jets defense and see if what they can do against the Browns run-heavy defense. Jason, do you like that matchup for the Browns, even though the Jets defense did hold the Ravens in check?
Yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. The Ravens obviously are not the Browns in terms of what they have in the backfield, and you just mentioned Wyatt Teller being, I think, Mikey, didn't you say he was
Number one
graded?
guard.
Yeah, and go and look at Dan Orlovsky's Twitter feed. He pinpointed one play.
I saw that.
of Wyatt where he basically took on 2 guys and jabbed the guy shifting and then caught the guy coming inside. the Browns have a fantastic offensive line. And now the Jets they do have a good defensive line. Quinnen Williams is their big defensive tackle, but he kind of comes and goes. He's not Aaron Donald. He doesn't have that motor on every play.
Right.
But the middle of the Jets' defensive line, I think, is probably their strength. Their ends are good as well. But I think the Browns can get the push that they need. I don't think anybody's stopping Chubb and Hunt, and I wouldn't pay much attention to the 63 yards that they held the Ravens to. I think the Browns can move the ball on the ground against them.
Yeah, I don't think you should read too much into that because, I mean, obviously when you look at the Ravens' backfield, outside of Drake.
They got one guy, Lamar. That's it. They got one guy.
How's the Ravens' O-line, though?
Beat up, I think. I'm trying. I don't know.
I don't think I looked at their grade. I think they were a C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think they were a C on the grade that I saw.
The Browns, by the end of the year, I mean, we got to talk about Jedrick Wills, but that may be the only question spot. Hudson, I was shocked by that, but you know it makes sense because we haven't mentioned it. Like normally you only mention
that was a huge
linemen.
Concern Sunday.
Absolutely.
Before the game,
I mean,
thought
think about Hudson's last game in Pittsburgh.
Where
Baker now Baker made clear he wasn't calling out Hudson. He was calling out the coaches for not giving Hudson help.
Sure.
And look how badly Hudson struggled against T.J. Watt.
I remember cursing him a lot.
Yeah, by the way, to that point, I talked to Bernie about that, and I said, who is this on? You know, the fact that they weren't giving him help, and it was unbelievable. You're putting the defensive MVP against a guy who was clearly over his skis,
right? And
you're sliding no one. Sometimes there was no tight end lined up over there.
Yeah.
And Bernie said, actually, Baker's got to take a lot of that pressure, a lot of that heat, because Baker has the ability to slide cover. He has the ability to send a tight end and stand someone over there with him, and he didn't.
I during the offseason, I poked around on that, and basically was told, listen, he had a lot of chances to get rid of the ball. Like, there's a lot of opportunities there for him to basically the same thing, putting it back on Baker.
Yeah.
So it was just.
I thought it was just egregious that he wasn't calling protection help for himself.
Right.
Quarterbacks do that all the time.
Yeah.
The best protection, going back to the running game, is running the football. Offensive linemen, you know, pass blocking is an essential part of what you do as a offense, right? But offensive linemen, you ask any offensive lineman, what do they like to do best? They like to run the football. Running the football is the equivalent of them being the aggressor. Just like on defense, they want to blitz. We want to rush the passers, defensive end, tackles. So if you get guys coming off the football, now all of a sudden they're the aggressor. And I'll tell you from this perspective, there may be 8 guys in the box, but one of the most disrespectful, worst days of your life is lining up against a team that you know is going to run the ball, and you have to just go up there, put your hand in the ground, and you're getting doubled, you're getting zoned, you're getting blocked, chop block, you're getting gap scheme, and they do a good job of a variety of running game. It isn't just zone or stretch. They run the whole gambit. So every time you line up, you have to read your keys. You could get reached. It's a bunch of stuff that can happen. And that's why the Cleveland Browns, when they got 2 guys like that and they come with that running back game, it's so difficult to stop because those 2 monsters just keep coming. They just keep coming downhill. And after the 3rd quarter, you're like, man, I'm still tackling this dude. Now you got to get off a block. It's so hard to stop 2-3 yards.
And we saw it again Sunday with Chubb, the yards after contact. You know, there were times that he was touched either at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage and still ended up with 9-yard runs. And at that point, you just, as a defense, you just shake your head and say, even if they do hold their blocks or if they can get off their blocks and they can try to get a hand on him, it doesn't matter because this dude is so big and so strong. Yeah. If you don't get 2 arms on him, he's loose and he's running free.
Hearing that crowd react to that was the first time that crowd has seen him play live, I'm sure. Yeah. And hearing them, it just looked like it was going to be a typical dead run play that didn't really go anywhere. And you just hear everybody be like, yeah, when there's contact, like, oh no, oh no.
That roller coaster.
And hearing them all, like, they're like, ow. But you can almost see them wrapping it up, like, all right, we got, where are you going?
And you know what? It's like death by a million cuts, too, or a heavyweight that is just pounding the body, pounding the body. And when you're watching at home, you're like, that punch didn't look like that much.
Right.
But it was the 500 before it.
Cumulatively.
that took the fuse out of the fighter's legs. Yeah. And you can see that he has that effect on a defense.
And remember, I remember a couple years ago, this used to happen a lot. I remember Ohio State, when they were rolling. This is when they had, I think, Terrell Pryor, and they had a bunch of guys out there. The one game that they really struggled was Navy.
I remember that.
And it took a roll interception or something, and he took it 90 yards, and they won the game by a couple points. But when you play triple option teams, you don't prepare for that kind of stuff.
And you never see it.
Same thing with the Browns. There's maybe 2 teams that will be as run heavy as the Browns in the league. Maybe the Titans, but when you talk about it, teams have to prepare for that. They have to prepare. And you know they don't tackle during the preseason.
Right.
You know they don't tackle during the regular season, during practice. So when they get out there, it's a different level because they're used to guys having nickel corners out there running around playing 7-on-7.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Browns got a whole other vibe.
Well, I'm pumped for our next guest because offensive line play is going to be pivotal for the Browns. And our next guest for nearly a decade when he was in the league was one of the guys that set the bar. Mikey, you have a read before we bring in Mitchell?
I don't have a read. I just want to say we're honored to welcome Super Bowl champion, former Chief Mitchell Schwartz.
Look at that smile, baby.
Making his UCSS debut.
I remember that smile. Mitchell, it's great to see you, man. So we're trying. Is his audio up? I don't think his audio is up.
Yeah, no, he's
it is pranking us? I didn't hear him. So, Mitchell, one of the things that we've been watching really closely is the play of the offensive line. It's going to be pivotal this year, clearly with the run game being essential to the Browns. What did you make? Did you get to see the Browns season opener? And if so, what did you make of how the line performed? Yeah, I didn't think we had his audio, Mike.
We're seeing levels. Hold on. This is the second time this has happened.
Hold on, Mitchell. There's a button switch. There's a gremlin in our board.
We'll get back to you in 1 sec.
Yeah, so we're gonna work out that bug and then see if we can get. I'm glad that we actually have a chance before he comes on to talk just a little bit about his career. I remember when the Browns drafted him. I think he was a second round pick. On draft day, it's not the sexy pick.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, who? What? Mm-hmm. And then I saw him in first couple of games, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this dude's legit. I knew he was an Iron Man, but I always just thought that, like, Joe Thomas was the Iron Man.
Yeah.
But I was looking at his bio. He didn't miss a snap until his 7th season in the league.
Right.
Even then, it was just a couple. He didn't miss a game until his last season in the league. And he missed it because of COVID.
Man.
Like, this guy just played. He was Joe Thomas.
I was salty.
Me
the Browns
too.
didn't sign him.
That was one of the things that never made sense to us.
And I didn't like the Alex Mack. I never understand.
And if you ever talk to anybody, nobody could ever explain why that happened.
Let's do take 2 real quick. I think we
Okay.
got the audio issue figured out. Mitchell, sorry about that. Technology isn't always our best friend. But
you're fixed now? There it is.
There it goes.
Mitchell, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're thrilled to have you. We were just talking about your Iron Man abilities and how you never missed a snap until I believe it was midway or late in your 7th season, and it wasn't until your last season, your 9th season, where you missed a start, and that was because of COVID. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think it was actually towards the end of my 8th season before I missed a snap. And I remember talking to Joe Thomas, and we were talking about that snap streak. And I was like, man, I'd really like to break it because you have every other record. I would just want like one thing that I could potentially have over you, and that would have been it. But I couldn't beat him because, Joe's Joe. And, of course, he gets all the records. So I got pretty far, and I was pretty proud of that. And then yeah, it came out just for a few plays, hurt my knee, and came back in. But, yeah, it's something that I saw Alex Mack. We had some really durable guys in the O-line room, and it's a lot of luck, to be fair. I mean, you can only, hope that a bunch of guys don't land on your leg the wrong way for so long. But there is an element of preparation and taking care of your body, and the stuff Joe does, throughout the week, all the stretching, all the stuff that looks really boring and monotonous, and that's what made him who he was and made him so special.
Mitchell, before we get to the Browns game this week, we were talking about your time here, and you were the one that got away. How in the world did that happen? What happened? Did they try and bring you back? They were an abomination at the time. Were you one of those guys who was like, you know what, I'm good, I'm going elsewhere? How did it happen that you got away from Cleveland?
No, I mean, my gut was to stay there. I think a misconception is that guys want to leave. I think for the most part, you've been in the city for 3, 4, 5 years. You make a ton of friends. I mean, Joe Thomas, Alex Mack, John Greco, all guys who are in my wedding. So awesome friends, lifelong friends. Like, you don't want to leave that work environment. I met my wife in Cleveland, her family's there, her friends are there. And so, you kind of just want to stay. Now, people were advising me, hey, you might want to go somewhere else. I think the football could be a little bit better if you got out. But, I don't know that. My only experience in the NFL is being in Cleveland and going in that O-line room every single day. I mean, obviously the on-field success wasn't exactly what we wanted, but every single day we had such a good time together and we had so much fun. And so I didn't necessarily want to leave that. So going kind of into my fourth season, Cleveland wasn't really looking to re-sign me or anything. And we just kind of realized, like, all right, we'll wait till after the season and, kind of figure that out. And so after the season, I believe people got fired again. Sashi took over.
Again.
That's a good guess.
It was Ray
if
Farmer.
If you have to guess that people
my
got
last
fired,
2
you
years.
can say people got fired.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to make sure, no, but Farmer got fired, Sashi took over, and so it was a bit of all right, well, let's get our bearings, let's hire people, let's kind of figure out the organizational plan, and then we'll get back to you. And it kept taking a while for them to get back to us, and we kind of wanted to just have an offer on the table once we got to that free agency period where we were allowed to talk to teams, and it took a lot of kind of digging to get an offer finally, and they did send out an offer, but it was kind of modeled on the Brian Bulaga deal, which Green Bay notoriously has no guaranteed money past the first year. So it wasn't exactly what we wanted in terms of total value, in terms of annual average, in terms of guarantees. So we said, thanks, we're going to see what free agency has to offer. I mean, as the player, once you're past that fourth year and the games are over, like, I think it's pretty dumb to sign with your team before free agency hits, because why wouldn't you see what's out there? And so I go out, see some other offers. The market isn't quite as strong as we expected, but we go back to Cleveland, try to negotiate a little bit, get some more guaranteed money, get some more annual average, and then wake up the next morning and hear that there's no offer on the table for me anymore. And, there was never a deadline. There was never, hey, we just, got to wrap this up before free agency officially hits, kind of none of that stuff. So that was the disappointing part is, I probably was pretty close to coming back because the other offers out there weren't what I was expecting. And so it also makes me think, realizing, I left, Alex Mack left, I think Travis Benjamin, Deshaun Gibson. There are a lot of really good players. And I think the organizational philosophy was, offer these guys deals that kind of on paper appear strong-ish deals, but realistically they're going to turn down, they're going to get more in free agency because we want to be able to say, hey, we tried to retain them, we offered X amount of money, they just wanted more somewhere else. But I think in my case, I was actually close to taking it. So they're like, we don't want to spend the money this year, so no more offer.
That makes it even worse
so yeah, that's
to know that they didn't have to move much to keep you, and they still didn't.
Wow.
Sometimes I don't think this organization makes the best decisions. Historically speaking.
Oh, my God. They offered you an indentured servant deal and then took it back. Like, nah, that's a little bit too much. I'm like, that just goes to show. I always said, some teams ain't trying to win. There's a few teams every year trying to win.
But you know what?
And they were not
That's
trying
why
to.
they still have $50 million in cap space, because they've been rolling it and rolling it and rolling it and rolling it.
Well, that's true, but
And
that all goes away next year.
Absolutely, and it cost them good players along the
And
way. Like
Mitchell, so for you, it works out. You win you're obviously a Super Bowl champion now. What was that whole experience like after experiencing some difficult seasons, and that's being nice in Cleveland? You end up at the highest of highs and a Super Bowl champion, a couple of Pro Bowls under your belt. Like, what was the tail end of the second half of your career like compared to the first half?
It's pretty incredible. I mean, I'm someone probably was a little bit jaded on the Cleveland experience and just kind of watching Joe, and a guy who can be that dominant and never get to the playoffs, never really have the team success that you want, and you realize you're kind of just a tiny part of this whole thing, and that you can be the best in the world at what you do, but it might not matter, that much in the grand scheme of things. So I kind of always had that philosophy that you just kind of do what you can control. It would be great to have team success. I mean, that's definitely a big reason I did choose Kansas City once I decided on that. But it wasn't like, all right, my whole career is all to win a Super Bowl. Like I wanted to play good football. I wanted to have good fun, and I wanted the team success, but it wasn't something that I, was straining myself to do all the time. And I kind of understood that I was a piece of that puzzle. And then, we had some playoff success. It was a lot of fun, but it's also disappointing to play more games and to be really disappointed after it. You're playing higher stress games against better competition. You're getting paid less. Like, going to the playoffs and losing just sucks. There's really no good way to end the season unless you win the Super Bowl. And then once we finally do, it clicks. And I'm like, oh, man, this is incredible. And it honestly kind of changed my life. After that, we realized, Kansas City was home. So we bought a place to remodel and live here forever. The connection with the city, with the fans, with teammates, it all kind of fell into place for me after that, and I realized just how special it was. And so I didn't know that it would mean that much to me until it happened, and obviously very glad it did, because it's just it's such an amazing experience. And even seeing a guy like Alex Mack go through that experience with the Falcons, obviously we know how that game ended up, but you still don't necessarily realize just how cool and how special it can be. And like I said, really honestly, just like a life changer. It's incredible what that can do for you.
Mitchell, one of the big things for offensive linemen is you could be a great offensive lineman. You just mentioned Joe Thomas, and you might not have the impact that you want because you don't have the pieces and parts, and namely the guy under center. When you were in Cleveland, we know the T-shirt and the jersey with all the rotating guys. When you got to Kansas City and you started playing with Patrick Mahomes, what was your first impression of, oh, this is different? Oh, we might got something here.
Yeah, well, when I first got to KC, it was Alex Smith, and even that was like, oh my God, this quarterback is doing stuff I've never seen before. The previous year we had Josh McCown in Cleveland. I had the same experience with Josh. Josh was doing things that none of the other quarterbacks I played with could do. And I remember a game against Baltimore. There was, an under front, kind of 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. Terrell Suggs is playing outside linebacker, and he tells us hey, don't block Suggs, block this linebacker instead. And I kind of look back at him are you serious, dude? And sure enough, Suggs dropped, the linebacker came, and I was like, how do you know that? This is just a base front. Wow. We're supposed to 5 down it. And for me, Josh McCown was, obviously he's played for all the teams and all the schemes, but that was a moment of, wow, I didn't know this could happen with a quarterback. And then you go to Kansas City, Alex Smith, extremely sharp mentally, obviously, physically doesn't have the downfield passing, just pure arm strength, even though he led the NFL in downfield passing the year before Pat took over. And then you get to Pat, and it's the combination of the body, the brain, kind of all those things coming together, the field vision, the leadership, the awareness. And yeah, it's the thing that was most fun was going back to Twitter after games and catching up on my timeline and seeing all the incredible plays. Because for the most part, I'm blocking, and especially as an offensive tackle at the top of the pocket, you kind of get to the point where your back is to the play. And so I'm not really able to see a lot of his awesome plays. So it took Twitter, it took the next day in film room, the offense line coach stopping the film, just being like, hey guys, watch 15 on this one. And you're just seeing things that you've never seen before. And it's really special. And, it's kind of hard to describe just the kind of confidence you get as a lineman, as a team, when, I know the guy behind me is going to do what he's doing, but also that maneuverability, that escapability. If I do screw up, he's also going to help me out with his legs.
So summing it up, it was really hard to leave Cleveland. Hey, you know what?
Mahomes wasn't drafted yet, so I didn't know that was going to be my fate.
Right.
I don't know if we can do this, but I just saw breaking news. The Browns have unveiled what their field scheme is going to look like. Remember, they let the fans vote. Mikey, I don't know if you can pull this up on Tagboard.
Yeah,
I'd love to get Mitchell's reaction to this. I like it. This is the one I voted for.
About time.
And I think that is absolute fire. I love the Browns in the end zone with the logo and the AFC, but I don't know. I love the Brownie at midfield. I think it's great.
Time.
Mitchell, what do you think of that?
I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's got, it seems like teams are going a little bit more towards the classic and vintage, having that logo in the middle. I do like that. The helmet's pretty cool, but it's just a helmet at the end of the day. So having something that's a little more unique, a little more, that the fans can really have a connection with, and looks pretty angry running that ball. Got the Heisman stiff arm. So I think that's pretty cool.
Nothing says intimidation like an elf.
Yep. If that doesn't strike fear into the heart.
But it's a large-scale elf, so it's not really an elf.
It actually is. It's a giant elf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Y'all hating. Y'all hating, man. Y'all be hating. Y'all just want the vanilla. Just wear the white jerseys. I remember it was a time in my life I didn't even see the Browns wear any brown jerseys. They just had white on the whole time.
All through the 80s.
All through the 80s. No alternates. And I used to ask my dad, they not have enough money for 2 jerseys or something? And he was like, son, it's not. It's just the way the uniforms work. But
Mitchell, did you ever care about what kind of jersey you were wearing? Everybody gets hung up on the colors of the jersey and stuff. Did you get excited
Oh, the excitement is going to your locker and realizing you're not wearing white on white. White on white is an offensive lineman's disaster. It's the way to make us look the fattest and the most disgusting. So if I could go to the locker and not see white on white, I was stoked.
Look at those big sloppy babies. That's what it looks like.
Every single time these players come on here, they validate it. You guys might not think the jerseys count, but when you go to the locker room and you see them, you be like, "This, man, we already gonna lose."
I will say, with Cleveland's jerseys in particular, especially with the newer version, I forgot if that was 14 or 15 that they were unveiled, but with the newer ones, it's the socks that pulled the jersey together. So the top and bottom combos, whether it's the white, the brown, the orange, like those go together really well and kind of are interchangeable. But depending on what sock choice they make, it pulls the whole thing together or it just looks terrible.
Wow.
And so it's one of the weird quirks because there are those colors and because Cleveland seemingly has like 8 different socks that you could wear on game day. Like whichever one they choose to go with the jersey kind of completes the look or makes it a disaster.
Mitchell's like a renaissance man. He's a uniform critic.
Game day
Like
fashion.
that's awesome analysis
I
right
love
there.
you,
Where
brother.
else are you going to get them?
That's like the pocket square, going with the tie.
Yeah.
He's saying the socks
socks
got
make
them.
the uniform.
They pull it all together. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch everything from week 1, but what's your thumbnail reaction to where we are in the NFL? I know the Chiefs looked very good. I'm not sure what the Cardinals are going to be, but is it the Bills and everybody else? How do you view it right now?
My kind of big picture view is I feel like there weren't as many teams that had really good games that I expected in week 1 or like a ton of optimism. The Browns needed a rookie kicker to nail a 58-yarder to win the game against a Carolina team that most people don't have a ton of expectations for. Obviously the Bills look good, the Chiefs look good, but there are just a lot of teams that even if they won, they just, it was a good game, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, it's week 1 and we saw this and we saw that and now we're really excited and we're going to be 12-5 and, win the division. So I think that, league seems to be top heavy right now, especially in the AFC. Bills, Chiefs, I think, Chargers are working their way up there as well. And in the NFC, I mean, as wide open as really a conference could be. And I think that's my biggest takeaway is just the lack of like, oh man, week 1 was awesome. We look great. And I'm super excited for the rest of the year because I know our squad's going to dominate.
Pittsburgh obviously surprised some people by beating Cincinnati. How do you think the AFC North looks, and what do you think that's going to mean going into week 2?
Well, they're all just going to beat up on each other, same as always. That division, especially now, I mean, it kind of got into a bit of an arms race with, Pittsburgh being the stalwart for a while. Ravens get Lamar, they catch up, they surpass. Cincy gets Burrow, they pass. Cleveland last few years, the success they've had. So all 4 of those teams can do some damage. I still think Pittsburgh, I mean, you had 5 or 6 turnovers and you needed a injury to a long snapper to win a game. So I'm not, super sold on that being the winning formula, especially with Watt injured now. Cincy, very concerning the offensive performance they had. Again, granted, Pittsburgh's defense pretty good, especially when Watt was rolling there, but not playing in the preseason, might have been to Burrow's detriment. So we'll see if he can turn it around a bit. I think Baltimore's kind of the team you're banking on to kind of best infrastructure, best kind of marriage of what they've been in the past and what they should be this year. But of course the defense has question marks as well. I think again, you're trusting it's Baltimore. They're going to figure it out. They always find these rushers in the 3rd, 4th round and they kind of piece together the defense and it looks pretty good at the end of the year. And obviously you guys are all excited about Cleveland. So it should be a pretty good race this year. They should all kind of beat up on each other. So I don't think it's going to be, a 13-4 team that really runs away with it.
Just to be clear, we are hoping that Joe Burrow does not turn it around a bit. I just want to be clear on that. We hope he keeps it where it's turned right now.
Mitchell, Jacoby Brissett.
Go.
Yeah. The floor is yours.
All right.
He exhaled.
Just say less and have it be more loaded.
No, I mean,
this is kind of who he is. It's who he's been the last few years. I think there was a little bit of success early on in his career where you could say, all right, he's young. There's some projection. But I think the projection phase is over. I think, this is kind of the guy. This is who he's going to be. I think that's why, on a larger scale, I mean, I'm not as tied into all the Cleveland media outlets, but I think on a larger scale, the biggest thing I saw was, are they really going to go with Jacoby for the majority of the season? And why aren't they upgrading? Why aren't they trusting to, get somebody else? Because we've all seen what he's been the last couple of years, and it's a guy that in that offense can do enough things to win you a game when the O-line takes over, when the running backs take over, when the defense is doing what they do and Myles is taking over. But I don't think he's a guy that's going to elevate the offense, going to elevate the play of the skill guys. And I don't think he's a guy that, is going to allow his coordinator to be like, all right, we're going to open it up this week. We're going to attack down the field. I think it's going to stay in that run game, play action, kind of quick passes. And you're limiting your top end. We've seen every scheme or every of this kind of Shanahan-McVay run scheme that has had a guy similar to this. They've all tried to replace him with someone who has more top end ability. So I think there were maybe a couple moves to be made that they could have gotten someone a little bit better for this run. But you're going to rely again on that run game on the defense, and now with a stud rookie kicker making some kicks at the end of games.
I lost my voice screaming for Jimmy Garoppolo for weeks, but you see where that got us, so whatever. But you mentioned earlier about Joe Burrow, and you thought he should have played in the preseason. We had the discussion yesterday. I don't know if you saw at the start of the show, the start of the game yesterday or Sunday, that the Browns had some problems getting lined up. They had to burn a timeout early. The play clock kept running down on them. Is that a product of not playing in the preseason?
Yeah, I think it is. And there's this element of mental preparation that you don't get by playing in the preseason that I think is probably a little bit more important than the physical. I do think the physical is very important to get into those games, to kind of get the heart rate moving, to get used to a little bit of the physicality. And all right, this is what a guy lining up against me that I don't know, that I'm game plan for. This is what he's going to do. These are my reactions. And it doesn't have to be the whole game. Andy Reid's a guy that plays the starters as much as anybody, and they don't really play into the third quarter. So it's a quarter, it's a couple drives, it's a quarter and a half, potentially the first half, but realistically 30, 35 plays, that's not a ton of plays. But there's that mental component of getting nervous for the game, getting ready for that, the anxiety the night before, the day of, running onto the field for the first time, having gone through I'll just say that Saturday night before the first 15, it gets unveiled, and studying that and making sure that, all those plays are down. So I think that the league is going to start trending more towards playing, quarterbacks and especially lines the first few preseason games because, we saw it go drastically where guys were trying to protect their players, and it just seems like those teams aren't having quite the amount of success in week one that the teams who are playing players have. So I do think there's a benefit to playing in those preseason games and getting, especially that mental strain kind of out of the way and getting ready for what a season's going to look like.
That's great analysis, really, because, I can't speak to all the teams. I don't know how everybody used their starters, but
this is the stat for you guys.
We talked yesterday.
For this?
Because it was clear watching the Browns. It looked like their dress rehearsal in week one, and you can't use regular season games. Or you can't use preseason games for game one in the regular season, and that's what it felt like the Browns did.
5 teams played their starting quarterback and offensive line less than 3 series in the preseason. The Browns, the Rams, the Packers, the Broncos, and the Bengals. How did those 5 teams do offensively?
They're all 0-5. They all lost.
0-5, and they all struggled offensively.
Well, the Browns won.
Right.
Well, the Browns.
Yeah, 1-4.
You're right. Yeah.
You're
right.
You're just used to saying Cleveland lost.
The Cleveland
Is that what's
Yorks.
going on?
Yeah, you know what? That felt like it felt like a loss. I got to tell you.
But here's the only thing I'd counter, and Mitchell, I'd be curious to get your reaction on this. Last year they did the same strategy, and okay, they lost to Kansas City, but they played fantastic. Like, they were ready to go in that opener against the Chiefs. Baker played well until they needed him the last couple minutes.
Yeah.
And
they looked great.
But they played together a lot.
And yeah, is that the difference? That it was Baker was going into his third year at the time. So where's the line on that of who needs preseason and who doesn't, or do you think everybody does?
Right. I think everyone should play just a little bit. Now, since he's different, Burrow did have the injury, so you could say that he didn't play because of that. Whether they would have played him, I don't know. They had a new offensive line. We all know they tried to upgrade the O-line. Didn't work in week one. But I think it is a little bit context dependent. But the flip side, I'm most recently used to Andy Reid, who plays his guys now as much as anybody. Mm-hmm. And he did something different this year. He played, 1 to 2 series in the first game, 3 to 4 series in the second game, kind of into, the end of the first half in the third game. But that third game, he didn't play Mahomes. So he played the rest of the offense with Henne at quarterback. Sorry to bring up Chad Henne to you guys, but that's something that that's something that Coach didn't do in the past. He would have the ones go out there, the quarterback would start, and maybe Pat gets pulled after a drive or two, but he completely iced Pat and played everybody else. So I think maybe that might be the trend, that if you play your quarterback at least a little bit in preseason game 1 or game 2, you feel good about a couple drives, you get some of that game action, you're still able to play basically everybody else a few series. But I don't know. I mean, I know we've talked about a couple years ago, it seemed like teams were having success not doing it. But I think the other element to this is the preseason is structured differently now. And the biggest difference is game 4 used to be Thursday, you'd have a weekend off, and then games would start, 10 days later. Now, game 3, which is the last game, is spread out over this 5-day window. So you have teams that have like 17 days between the end of game 3 and the beginning of the preseason, or the beginning of the regular season. So even if you are playing in that game 3, it's still over 2 weeks before your next actual game action, let alone if you aren't playing. So that's where I think this different schedule is going to benefit teams that play a little bit in that game 3, because you have 2 to 2.5 weeks to kind of recover from that. And, I'd like to think 15 to 20 plays isn't a ton. And even again, like you stretch it to 30, that's not that many plays in the grand scheme of things.
Mitchell, I watch the Kansas City Chiefs all the time, and I always make the comparison. It seems that Andy Reid always plays his scheme to what they have. Whether or not it's Kelsey and they lose Tyreek Hill, I turn the game on, and now all of a sudden Juju Smith-Schuster is good again. I'm looking around, and I'm like, Edwards-Helaire now runs the ball, and they're running the ball, and now they're physical. I just don't understand sometimes other coaches getting away from what they have as far as their tools. How does Andy Reid do that in the context of how he gets his people and his team ready to play, in contrast to some people who kind of just have their specific playbook that they put on anybody who comes into the organization?
Yeah, and that's a good question, because there's a couple elements to it. There's one which is, rule number 1 of any offensive coordinator's checklist of things I have to say in my first meeting is, this is your offense, we're going to tailor it to your strengths, blah, they all say that. And then realistically, the majority of them, the reason they get fired and get moved on is because they don't tailor it to their guys' strengths. They do what they're comfortable with and what they think should work. And it ends up not working because, you have guys that don't necessarily fit that. And so obviously coach has the cachet, the kind of bankroll to be able to say, I'm going to do it my way. And if there's a couple bumps here, people are going to trust me and we're going to ride this thing out. But I will say in general, and I don't think the people, the fans, kind of the media that don't interact with him on a daily basis get this, but he is like a very aggressive mindset personality as that coordinator, that coach. I think we kind of see him as this awesome guy. He's a little bit more soft-spoken. He doesn't, talk too much in the media. He makes sure he praises everybody. But kind of behind that, he is really confident. He's really comfortable kind of being on the aggressive side of things. So I think there's the element of he trusts his players and he trusts the good as opposed to fearing the bad. And so he's not thinking like, oh, well, maybe my O-line can't hold up on this. He's like, no, I got these guys. They're good players. They're going to block it up and we're going to attack down the field. So there is that element that he very much has this mindset of attacking, of confidence in his players. And then you as a player get confidence as well. I'm on the front side of this play action, which is every offensive lineman's worst nightmare. And, I run it a couple times and now, okay, well, I locked the guy up, so maybe I can do this. And now the next time he calls it, I have more confidence in it as well. So there's that element that, Coach Reid has that mindset that people don't necessarily know about. But a coach should, tailor his offense to his players. It's just the coaches that don't have that confidence, that don't have that trust in the players to kind of mix things up. That's when, things start to look a little bit different. And I think you see that a little bit more with kind of this run, play action, scheme where it's harder to mix things up unless you have that top end quarterback. I mean, we saw that with McVay, that once he got Stafford, okay, now we can go shotgun, now we can go 5 wide. But when you don't trust the quarterback, when you don't have the guy that you think can do it, you do lean into the more conservative side of things and you kind of force your scheme on your players.
Mitchell, I have a point and a question. First of all, my point, we showed some of your very impressive stats earlier, lifetime career stats, and they are great, but I will quibble with just one, and that's the one that said that you have 0 penalties in playoff games. I think the Browns deserve a lot of credit for that. I feel like we helped you stack up some of that stat early on. Like, we didn't give you a lot of opportunities to have any penalties in playoff
Well, you
games.
can't divide by 0, so maybe not.
That's true. I'm just saying it's kind of a cheat one.
He is a Cal Berkeley guy, right?
Yeah,
you're looking-
And my question though is, you said that your wife is from here. That's great, and that means you have to be stuck here sometimes. You have to come back and visit us whether you like it or not and hang out and everything. When you are in town, what are a couple of Cleveland spots that you like to check out, whether it's a bar, restaurant, exhibit, whatever you got to check out when you're in town?
That's a good question. So we usually stay in Crocker Park. The hotel there is somehow insanely cheap. Like, I don't know how,
Nothing
because the
else in
hotel's
Crocker Park
pretty
is
good and
cheap.
the area is
Yeah.
awesome. But like, we usually drive in, we've got our 2 dogs and the dogs love it there. We can walk them every day, a bunch of smells, a bunch of stores. So that's the place that we typically stay, food wise. We do like Town Hall. We like, Chef Rocco. So Fahrenheit's always a good one. Kind of the fast casual. We love Aladdin's. We're big into Mediterranean food. So that's one that we kind of always try to hit, which, sounds like it doesn't necessarily need to be a destination eating spot. But like, usually we have a long car ride and we kind of just order it when we're 30 minutes out. We pick it up and we get to the hotel room and we go to town. So a lot of the, I'm not going to really say anything that people probably don't know about. We kind of just hit the old favorites, and
That's cool.
those usually tend to be the first few that we think about.
Aladdin's is good stuff.
Yeah,
It is.
well, the chicken sandwich at Town Hall is like, you're full for 2 days.
Yeah, it's good sandwich.
Good food. Hey, before we let you go, I got to ask you the question about Andy Reid dominating, towering over the competition in the punt, pass, and kick competition when he was like in the 6th grade. Before we show the video, Mikey, hold on. I'm sure you've seen it. Did you guys used to just ride him forever on that video?
No, but it does get brought up like every now and again. Like maybe someone will slip in the photo during a presentation, or you're kind of in the dog days of the season. There it is. So he's allegedly the same age as all those other kids.
Allegedly.
And he's 3 times the size. It's amazing. But no, every now and again, if maybe Pat throws it into something, or one of the coaches, there's a kind of a tradition where on, I think it was Saturday mornings, that one of the coaches who did the presentation would kind of work in, as he was showing some college clips of, situational stuff, he'd work in clips of guys in college and kind of tie it all together. So every now and again, Andy Reid might have gotten a shout out in that.
It never, ever fails to
Just imagine
crack
being one of
me
those
up.
other kids there watching that.
Their parents had to
Yeah.
be like, someone's dad is on the field.
Is this a
Check his
prank?
ID.
In a real Rams uniform. That's not like the youth league
Yeah.
Rams uniform. That is an official Rams player's uniform that he's wearing.
That's a 4X helmet.
That's
That's a 4X. He has a lineman's head. He has his face is outside of his face mask.
He's 12 there.
That's a huge helmet, bro.
Oh my
What do you got,
gosh.
Mikey?
Mike McNuggets, our producer, has a question for you before we let you go.
Last one here, Mitchell, but I got to ask. How in the world would you block Myles Garrett?
Very nervously and probably not effectively. I remember, luckily, I haven't really ever had to block him, which is awesome. But I remember asking Joe, all right, first off, the whole hilarious, like, Myles honed his craft while going against Joe Thomas in practice. Joe was practicing like once a week at the time, so they barely face each other in practice.
Dispel that,
so they
man.
didn't have too many reps. And the one video that came out was like a screen pass that Joe was purposely trying to ride him upfield, and everyone's like, oh, Myles, blow by Joe. But I talked to Joe, and I was like, dude, tell me about this guy. And he goes, he's Von Miller quick and Khalil Mack strong. And I was like, no, like, I call Joe Mr. Hyperbole. Like, he tends to lean into, the most ridiculous statement he can make. I was like, there's no way. He's like, no, I'm not joking about this one. He's Von Miller quick and Khalil Mack strong.
That's
And I think
crazy.
we've all seen, like, that's the perfect way to describe it.
Horrifying.
And yeah, as an O-lineman, I mean, you just try to hang on for dear life, and he's going to win some. You go into that game, you're not expecting a perfect outcome. You're just hoping that he doesn't take over the game.
Mitchell, I keep lying. I have one more question. As I'm listening to you, you're obviously a very bright guy. Your knowledge of the game is incredible. I could see you coaching. I could see you in the booth as a color analyst for a game, just because the way you see things and the way the way you dissect the game, it's obviously very good. What is your post-football life like, and do you have any ambition to go into either one of those avenues?
Coaching, not traditionally in the coaching sense. Those guys work crazy hours, and for the most part, they say, if you've made enough money, don't do this unless you're crazy and you just absolutely can't get enough of it. But I could see a scenario where I could kind of be a consultant. I could get, called and, hey, can you help us with this guy, or what do you see with that guy? I think, I watch enough football anyway. I kind of have an understanding on, which offensive linemen are playing well, or which guys could use a couple nuggets of advice. So I could see something like that. And in the media world, just kind of doing various stuff here and there, similar to, I keep bringing up Joe, but that 33rd team that we're working with, sign on to that. So at least I'll have a platform to kind of do a couple longer form things every week. And, it's difficult. I don't get the all 22 film myself, and I don't, have the greatest editing capabilities. So as much as I love to do some more offense line breakdowns and kind of do the stuff that Baldy's doing and show off some cool plays, it's a little bit out of my scope of talent. So I think I'm always going to be involved in football, stay in it. What that looks like, I'm not exactly sure. As an announcer, I love football so much. I don't know that I want to give up my weekend of just being in my basement watching all the games, to be on the road and to travel. And eventually, once we have kids, I don't want to be missing, kid stuff on the weekends during the fall. So I'm not sure that that's, the perfect role for me either. So I'll probably just kind of do little things here and there. And if things crystallize and they make sense for me, I'll continue with it.
Very good. Listen, it was a total pleasure having you on, Mitch, and it's great to see you again, and enjoy the rest of the 2022 season.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
We're sorry we lost you, but we're glad that our stupidity got you a Super Bowl win.
Thank you.
Bye, man.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
I could see him in the booth.
You know what the best part about the interview is? I love how he just slyly just snuck something in there. He was like, what are you going to do? And Mitchell was like, nothing, I'm rich, dog. A little here and there, watch some games, but I ain't going to be coaching. I love it. I love it. He just was like, I ain't doing nothing.
I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to watch dudes run.
What's that for?
No,
What's that about?
And it's funny, the real smart ones that are set up, when you ask them if they're getting into coaching, they're like, hell no. Uh-huh. Because I remember talking to a guy that thought for a minute he wanted to do that. And they found out he had to do an internship and the whole thing. He was like, I was doing like 18-hour days for a couple of weeks before I decided this isn't for me. No one works harder than NFL coaches.
I don't like 18-hour weeks.
Man, listen, when you start holding them cards up to the scout team talking about you going to block the nose here on 2, you rethink a whole lot of stuff like, hold on. I'm rich.
Yeah, what am I doing? What in the world am I doing?
Sharp guy, though, man.
Really sharp guy.
Knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't do more, and we haven't seen him do more.
I would listen to him on color of a broadcast.
Also, one of the most
linemen usually make very good color.
They're the best journalists know.
Yeah.
Go to the linemen.
Yep,
the linemen
always.
are the best talkers in the locker room.
He
they know
scored
everything.
a 35 on the Wonderlic.
That's incredible.
And the average is 20 or 21, I think. I'm not sure, but I mean, for a while, we really placed a lot of emphasis on the Wonderlic.
I
know
they do it anymore.
They don't do it anymore.
Are we going to do a thing where we all take the Wonderlic? I feel like we should do that.
I'm sure
that's been done.
I did that with my
actually have an
co-host
idea
at
for
ESPN.
that.
Okay.
I was thinking, Anthony and I were talking a couple of days ago about the good bet, bad bet, loser, winner punishment.
Yeah.
I think a loser should have to do everything that an NFL player has to do in the combine. Like run a 40, do the bench press.
Wow, that's
Do
good.
some drills, take the Wonderlic.
Are you trying to get somebody's? You trying to hurt somebody? Somebody gonna die.
Does workman's comp cover the blown ACL?
We'll
look into it.
Have you
You're contracted. We're not contracted, so definitely not.
This is true.
Have you run a short shuttle? I don't even know if my body go down that
Dude,
far
you know what?
anymore.
When you said short
Think of the
shuttle, my
content,
knees
though.
kind of ached, both of them.
I ain't
nuts.
never running nothing unless it's from the police.
Mine sure. Yeah.
Then don't lose. Simple as that. Don't lose.
Yeah.
I won't run. I won't resist.
You know,
I'm
at
not.
least you
Don't
could
put
do
yourself
the,
out
they're
there.
looking
you could
for.
do the vertical. You could do the standing long jump. I don't think anybody's going to get hurt doing that. I would hope
What
not.
you mean, the broad
I bet I
jump?
could manage to. I bet I could manage to get hurt doing a
Jay,
long,
do
standing
you know
long
how
jump.
you broad jump?
You still play basketball, don't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you still hoop.
No, I don't do anything. I'm the version of Mitchell Schwartz without the money. I don't do nothing.
Without the money.
Without the bag. I'm not doing none of that.
Did we cover everything? I think we covered everything with him if we wanted to.
The other
he was
the other
great.
nugget that I liked was that Josh McCown knows every defense because he's played on every team.
Yeah.
He's played every every team.
He said he's been in every season. Every system.
He knows the scheme.
He knows it.
He's
He's like,
played
oh,
it.
I remember this formation because he's been on every
Don't
single
block
team.
Suggs. He ain't coming. And he was right.
That's a good strategy, being on every team.
But think about that. Like, if you're Mitchell Schwartz, you're this young lineman, your quarterback tells you, don't block Suggs.
Yes.
And you're like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
My
Are you
offensive
trying
line
to get
coach is
hurt?
watching.
I'm going to get cut tomorrow.
I like that he said,
Here,
I
help yourself.
didn't know that a quarterback could know that and do that, because the guys that he had played with before.
Right.
Oh, man. He could write a book.
Yeah.
And you know what? As he was telling his story about how the Browns just weren't interested, there could be a book with 20 chapters, all of the colossal mistakes. And I'm not sure his would even make the top 20, because at the time he was already a great player. He was established, and it was a head scratcher. But Alex Mack was too.
Yep.
And there's a million others. A book of the Browns fails.
Yeah.
Each chapter. Brandon Weeden. A lot of them would be quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Brady Quinn. Johnny Manziel's probably chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. And yeah,
Why don't you
probably
get on
the
that?
epilogue
Write that
too.
book. But keep away from sharp objects.
I'm done writing books. I wrote one. And
You
it
could write
damn
that
near
book.
Killed me.
You can write that book.
Somebody could write that.
I was trying
yeah.
to think of his time. I couldn't remember if his time timed up with Kyle Shanahan giving a PowerPoint presentation so that he could leave the
That
team.
had to. I think it
And
was.
I wanted to ask if
I
he
think
got to
it was.
sit in
It
that.
was.
I think it was in the
think
same,
it
because that
was.
was the farmer Sashi.
That was one of the. I'd say that was one of the low points
And-
when
and-
he created something in PowerPoint to explain why he wanted
And
to
then the
leave.
farmer calls down and tells Patton, you got to put Manziel in right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the absolute low point.
Right.
That, and if it's true, Jimmy being told by a homeless guy, you got to draft Johnny Manziel, and he did.
Man, we're just nailing. We're like, and that was also the low point, and so was that one.
Yeah,
You know
have you
what?
guys-
That's also a low point.
Have you guys read Pluto's Curse of Rocky Calavito?
No.
I don't believe I have now.
You're old enough to appreciate
Yeah.
it. It is basically the book for the Indians, what I'm talking about for the Browns.
All these bad.
It goes all the way back to the trade of Rocky Calavito, who was in his prime.
Yep.
Traded away for a bag of balls and
Right.
nobody. And then they just go on to basically chronicle all of the moves that happened post trade of Rocky Calavito.
Right.
The one that was funny for me, because I was 10 and I was a fan of this Indians team, all Indians teams, but they had to make a decision on Manning or Eckersley after
Right.
Manning and Eckersley's wife infamously, because it's clear they couldn't trade them. So they looked at Eckersley and they said, the way this dude throws, he puts a lot of stress, because he dropped down, he threw up, man, he's going to tear his arm out
Long
in
term.
probably a year.
Yep.
And Manning was runner-up rookie of the year to Freddie Lynn. He had a great rookie season. They're like, Manning's fast, he's a good ball player. Yeah, he broke his back, but he'll heal. And so they famously shipped
Yep.
Eckersley off, who
never regretted
had a
it.
couple of 20-win seasons, if I'm not mistaken, as a starter with the Red Sox, and then became one of the game's all-time great closers
Eternally.
with the A's, and won World Series. And Manning, even though he's my favorite player, just never became what they thought he would. So clearly they made the wrong choice there. But read the book. There's a lot
I
of
know the
stories in it.
curse.
I
My
know
dad
you-
has the book. I think we all legally had to get our dads that book.
At some point.
in like 2008
At
or
some
something
point,
like that.
yeah.
And he has that.
Yeah,
I know he likes
somebody needs to write a book of the Browns curse. Go ahead, Mikey.
All right, we got to do what the internet says before it's too late. And whenever we tell you what the internet says, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. All the above, yes, sir. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Mitchell Schwartz says if ever in Cleveland, he'll try to stop by studio. So
Yeah,
I think he enjoyed his
absolutely.
time.
I think he did a great
He
job.
likes us, you guys. He likes us.
There's
win.
one.
Let's go. So we asked the internet yesterday, with our topic today being, how will the Browns offense attack the Jets defense? We asked, how many points do you think the Browns will score on Sunday? And we got quite a wide range of answers. Let's see the first one here, Anthony. This comes from Paul Kavanaugh. Ravens scored 24. Browns scored 17. Lamar, top 10 quarterback. Jacoby, bottom 3 quarterback, but Browns still win 17-3. Let's see the next one.
It's a good fake name, Paul Kavanaugh.
This is from Joey Seago Browns.
It really is.
10 field goals by York. Seriously, though, if we can score 21, we'll win. And last but not least, this from James. He said the Panthers have a bit of a better defense, and we got 26 on them, so maybe 28-31. I like to think our offense is better than the Ravens as well.
I'd like to think that too.
Yeah,
Do you
I'd like a
guys
pony for Christmas.
Do you guys remember in school we watched this movie Gus about this horse that could kick field goals from anywhere?
Yeah.
on the field?
Oh, yeah.
You
I
remember that?
Yeah.
We have Gus now.
We do have Gus.
Just get it to midfield
Yeah.
and send Gus out.
He can make it.
And he can make it. Just get the ball to midfield.
Are we worried about him just getting too big for his britches because he's so good and we tell him he's so good all the time?
Well, when I
not.
jokingly told him
No.
he was going in the Ring of Honor next week,
Next week?
his eyes got real big and he was like, oh, don't even say that.
Oh, okay,
Don't even
so
joke
he's
about
staying
that.
there.
So
Man,
I think
The
he's
smart
okay.
kickers know that they're only as good as their last
As
kick.
their last
That-
kick.
Yeah, but
that's
his
the way
last
it
kick
works.
was always really good.
Well, so far it has
Yeah.
been. But, look, I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. He's going to miss kicks this year that cost the Browns a win.
Probably.
Every kicker does.
Every game comes down to 3 points.
With this team,
more or
it
less.
does.
Especially with this
They
team.
never build a 14-point. When was the last time you watched a Browns game and in the fourth quarter you were doing other things? Like, never.
Right. You're right. Like, I'm not like, I can go knock out the lawn. Well, I know how
Yeah,
this is going.
This is comfortably in hand.
No.
I can
I'm
leave
just,
now.
I'm just holding a bottle of Jameson, just pacing in my living room.
Man,
no sharp objects anywhere in sight.
Cigarettes.
I'll tell you what. Somebody said 31 points. I think they get 31 this weekend.
Wow, really?
Well, here's the reason.
Three pick sixes.
Yeah, at least two defensive
If Jacoby
touchdowns.
Brissett hits 1 to 2 throws, those are touchdowns.
Whoa, slow down.
Wow.
The Kareem Hunt pass,
Yes.
that was wide open. That's a touchdown.
Amari Cooper on the first drive.
First drive, touchdown.
DPJ.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hit 2 out of the 6 you missed.
Just learn
Well,
how
that's
to
all
throw.
you have to do, too.
Well,
Yeah.
I would assume that he would say, okay, first week I would like to have a couple throws back, but if I'm only asking for 2 for 6, that's a really low percentage. And 2 for 6 gets you looking at 30-some-odd points, given the
Man,
dominant
I-
The problem
I
is, do you
hope you're
think like
right.
he's looking at film right now and seeing those passes and be like, oh, throw it better. Be better at my job.
Only underthrow it by 14 yards.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
24.
Instead, like I feel like what's done is done. Maybe I don't know if you can correct it, other than maybe mentally. But they're terrible throws.
He can hit. If he hits one of them, just one. Just think about how many points they get last weekend.
But, the thing, too, is maybe a couple of times a game you're going to have a miscommunication or just a slip. Defensive back just makes a bad mistake. It's not every day in the NFL the guy's running free wide open.
Yeah.
But they had that a number of times.
And
he didn't
the
hit
Jets
it. I think they
defense-
had more than 2.
The Jets' defense is better than the Panthers' defense as well.
I like him
Yes,
up front. I like
think
him
so, too.
a lot better up front. But I will say, the good thing about it is the Browns will get better from week 1 to week 2.
I do believe that. I think they're going
The
to be
Jets
better.
will, too. Everybody should.
I do think I've been really hard on Jacoby Brissett. I do think he is better. He will be better than what he showed. Not dramatically.
Right.
But I do think, to G's point, I do think one of those plays he can hit in the future. I don't think he's going to miss on all of them like he
Right.
did. So I am hopeful.
Man, I'm rooting like hell for the guy because watching that post-game interview, while I was happy for him that
Yeah.
he got the
Yeah.
win and it was a big win for the franchise and for him, how can you not root for a guy that cares
course.
that much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap up our Browns coverage for today with this, our offensive prop bets. We did all 10 on Friday, but that was because we got a condensed week. Let's see how we're doing so far. Let's get the standings up here, Steve.
I love looking at
We
these
have
standings.
all
Yeah, I bet you
7
do.
of us. Yes, the standings. All 7 of us on a graphic now. This is an Anthony special here as he
Okay.
adjusted it.
These standings are
There we go.
beautiful.
We got Mike Polk with the cat. We got Jason in his purest
bad.
form. And with that angry face, Jason and G. Bush still lead at 9-4. And we're going to do it a little differently here. We asked for 5 prop bets. We're not going to know the answer to those bets until Sunday.
Wait. Hold the phone. 13%, bro. What?
Anthony?
Yeah.
Anthony copy and pasted something wrong. That is not correct. The
Yeah.
percentage, we're actually going to drop the percentages now.
No, just give me
Because
50,
everyone's
give
doing
me,
the same
give me
amount of
50,
bets.
54% there.
I mean,
It should be 54.
It's not
yes.
even in the neighborhood. That's the thing.
But
13%.
Yeah, Anthony, you screwed up all the
But
percentages.
highest
'cause
Tiles
Polk
tied
is-
at 6 and 7,
Polk-
and
Polk-
McNugget Polk 6 and
Yeah,
7.
we have
Anthony
different
screwed up all the
percentages.
percentages here. Yeah,
No,
let's get the camera on
no.
Anthony.
The only ones that are wrong, Polk should be 46 and I should be 54.
Anthony has left
He's
the
leaving the
building.
building.
Anthony has left the building.
Peace out, bro.
Just a reminder, he's from Parma, everyone. Parma, Ohio.
No one told Anthony there would be math.
Who is putting things on the teleprompter?
And by the way, last night in the Guardians game, when Austin Hedges slid into home head first and his helmet flew off, all I could think of is that dude is Anthony's separated at birth brother.
Yep, same dude.
And Anthony, I want you to grease your hair all to pieces. The last time Austin Hedges washed his hair, he was actually hitting over 200.
Anthony, can you hit a curveball?
No.
Anthony cannot hit a curveball.
Well, neither can Austin.
But if he put eye black on and a Hedges jersey and walked around Cleveland, people would ask for his autograph.
Do you think we should take him pre-game or post-game to the Thirsty Parrot, put him at a table, and have him sign autographs as Austin Hedges to see how many people think he really is Austin Hedges?
Let's please do that.
I did it as Corey Snyder one year at spring training.
You do got a little Corey
Snyder had
Snyder.
about
Thank you. That
100
means a lot.
pounds on you, bro.
But-
I know, but people, people.
Did anybody
seen him
fall
in a
for it?
while.
Oh yeah, everybody did. I had like a blonde mullet wig on too, with a hat, and stuff. I'll bring in some pictures. I signed a lot of things as Corey Snyder.
Do you know that I went to? Do you know that I went to a Franchise Boys concert in Huntington, West Virginia? Y'all don't even know who the Franchise Boys are.
Yeah.
As Byron Leftwich.
I was going to say.
There you go.
And he went to Marshall, so they know what he looks like there.
And I signed autographs. I had bottle service.
Yes.
It was great. There was all kind of fly girls.
How did you do it?
Nice.
I mean, you didn't wear a jersey.
No, I at that time.
Put on a Jets hat.
At that time, I looked just like him. The DJ was a kid that used to go to OU, but started living down in Huntington. And so they were like, yeah, come through. And so when we got there, I wasn't even going to plan on doing it.
Right.
I was just coming to hang out. And they say, hey, man, we got the special VIP in the building.
Nice.
Byron Leftwich, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm looking around
That's
like,
such a perfect level to that's believable too.
And
so everybody bought it.
everybody. I had security, everything. They bottle service.
Yep,
and
there he
everything.
is.
Now listen,
Smart Byron Leftwich.
and guess what? I've now impersonated Joe Jaravicious.
I was going to say, from Joe Jaravicious, and you could do Warren Sapp, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have I ever told you guys this Warren Sapp story? It's I don't know that it's confirmed, but Warren Sapp was being sued. There was a woman in Philadelphia that claimed that he had fathered her child.
Her sapling.
And her sapling, right? So well played.
Shut up.
And
I hate this dude.
now again, this is urban legend. I'm just repeating urban legend.
Right,
It
allegedly.
may or may not be true, but knowing Warren, it could be true. Warren allegedly hired someone who looked just like him and gave him the 99 chain and the gear, and he drove up to where the test was to be taken and signed in as Warren Sapp and took the test. And, after Maury got the paperwork, you are not the father. The mother was like, that's impossible unless there was some sort of immaculate, conception here, because I was only with Warren. So then I think they subpoenaed him, according to the story, and they watched him and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they said, Maury got another piece of paper and said, you are the father. I don't know if that is true. It's been repeated.
That's amazing.
The
I'm
person
gonna
that
act
told
like
me,
it is.
The person that told me this allegedly worked at the testing place and said, I knew right away when that dude walked in, that dude's like 5'7". That ain't Warren Sapp.
Now, I'm gonna ask Jay one day. You know, Jay know everybody. He'll tell you an industry story in a heartbeat. Like, this cat knows everything.
Yep.
How the hell did Maury Povich go from a solid citizen, a solid journalist in a show, to you are not
You
the
are not the
father
father.
every week?
It paid.
Every week.
He was making, I believe at one point, it was over $10 million a year.
Wow.
Because he was syndicated. And,
Right.
well, look at Jerry Springer. Jerry was, too.
Mayor of Cincinnati.
Mayor of Cincinnati, actually, according to legend, I think you might be able to look this up, was hired for solicitation.
He
I
paid
believe
for
he
a
used a check.
prostitute with a check.
I believe he used a check.
Bit of arrogance there.
Yeah, bit of arrogance. They'll never
never
know
come
the
back.
mayor is doing
Yep.
this.
He wrote in the memo, not for a prostitute, though, just to cover his tracks.
So what happened with Maury is that he kind of fell into this thing, and people, they would notice when they would do the paternity shows that the ratings would be 3 times higher than everything else.
Yeah.
Just like the Jerry shows. When there was a chair thrown or a fight, the ratings were up here.
He's our
compared to
Deshaun
down
Watson.
here.
That's our Deshaun Watson.
Yes. So they basically said, well, we got to live in that. So he
Lord.
just, day after day after day, he would bring in couples. She would swear that he was the father. He would swear that he wasn't. And then they would do the test. And
Run
then they
off
would put him in the
backstage.
chairs like this.
No.
Yep.
Leroy, You are the father.
The pauses were great,
Oh,
too.
the pauses were all fantastic.
Like 10
Yeah.
seconds.
And the cutaways.
And meanwhile, his wife, Connie Chung, is doing honest journalism, just going
Yeah.
to far off places, getting real stories.
Yeah.
She go, how was your day, honey? Well.
But he made the bag.
He got the bag.
Man,
Shout out to
man,
him.
oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky. Are we gonna do the Guardians?
What are we
Let's,
gonna do?
let's talk a little
I
Guardians.
didn't think we'd get
Or,
to this.
we didn't do the bets. We're not.
Oh,
Gonna do
yeah, we didn't show.
Yeah, well, we're just gonna skip them. But
Skip
you want
it.
to
Wait,
All right.
do you want to
All right.
give our bets? Like, do you want us to give them, or you just wanted us to be on record with you what
No,
they
well,
are?
let's take 77, Steve. This is what we
Okay.
made.
This
The
has,
new way we'll go over the prop bets, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Sorry,
Jay,
we
this
started
is
talking
your
about
pick.
Gary Povich.
yeah,
And we have one for all of you. So, Jay, do you want to tell us why you went over on all 5, and then we'll go around the horn real quick?
yeah, because I'm optimist. I'm an optimist, and I think that when you look at what the numbers were, like, I think Jacoby could have 2 touchdowns.
Who's Njoku?
Yeah, I don't know. Njoku, I'm
David
taking the under on
Njoku.
Njoku.
Tough day for him.
Yeah, he's taking it on the
Let me
chin,
start
man.
copying
Tough day
these.
for Anthony.
But in Anthony's defense,
I'd like to hear this.
he's never
You know,
been a graphic artist before, and he's doing the work of about 10 graphic artists. He makes
He is.
115 graphics per show. Is that what we averaged?
It's a lot of them, yeah.
Unbelievable.
He
what
actually
he's
came
doing.
in early
Spell
today
him
for
right.
the first time ever, so I'm going to blame on a lack of sleep.
Okay,
Anthony was
maybe.
here
Well, now I feel
before
bad
me
making
for the
fun of
first
him.
time ever today.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think the graphics are great. I took the over on everything because I want the over on everything.
G. Bush,
So-
you went under 1.5 passing touchdowns for Brissett. We're not going to take the graphic. I don't want to put the
Yeah,
typo
don't
on,
do
but
that.
you're going under?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we still, we've seen the typo already.
So under.
Throw him up there. We can overlook
embarrassing.
that.
So the reason I took the under, he'll get 1 touchdown pass, but it's gonna be something little short, little dink and dunk. It ain't gonna be nothing big.
You got
time.
all the overs too.
I got
except for that.
all the rest
I'm surprised
overs.
you took that under because you just sat there and said all
Nah.
he's got to do is hit two out of 6.
That don't mean he gonna do it.
right.
Let's take Polk's next. Polk,
All right, what's
Yeah.
Polk at?
I'm a little more pessimistic. Yeah, I did under just like G on that, and then I just don't. I don't have faith in him hitting Cooper for more than.
Is
a
that an
couple.
old-time photo?
That's from Cedar Point. We shot
That's
that
what
in
I-
Frontier Town.
I thought that's where that was.
He
Yes.
got he got all the best pictures, man. I'm about to start taking some new
The cat.
pictures.
Got to go to Frontier Town. Hook it up. My girl Dawn took that one.
Wow, you remember
Yep.
her name?
Mm-hmm. Dawn, shout out. Frontier Town.
She made quite an impression on you.
She did.
That was
Yep.
years ago.
Did
Yeah.
you go by yourself?
No, yeah, I did every year.
Oh, okay.
I take a Frontier picture by myself. Then I go home.
It's his annual
I ride the
Christmas
sky
card.
ride alone, and then
It's
I
his
just call it a
Christmas
day.
card photo.
Eating fries.
Oh, so what was Dawn like?
No, Dawn was she was a peach. You know, the little lady and I went there a couple weeks ago, and that's when we got those.
Oh, so it was recent.
Yes, it
Okay.
was.
I thought it was from years ago, and you still remember Dawn's name.
But it was one of those things. It was a totally empty. It was. Here's why it was memorable. It was a totally empty situation. There was nobody else waiting to get an old-timey picture because nobody else's girlfriends were trying to inflict that upon their boyfriends because they have more respect for them than mine
and
does.
Stephanie made
yes,
you
and
do
she was
it.
all about getting it.
you know what? I can see.
But
Stephanie
we're in there
being
with,
all
and the
about
lady,
that.
she's like, so what are you guys gonna do? Like, are you guys gonna do like an old-timey gangster or frontier-y thing? And I'm like, I'll do the gangster guy or whatever. And I put on the outfit, and then I just go, you know what? I actually want to do the other one. She goes, actually, you already have that on. And I'm
Wow.
like, there is no one else waiting for this. She's just like, once you have it on, we just kind of gotta. And
It's in the contract.
And the best thing is just watching Stephanie. She's like, he's putting on a different one, and I'm just like, what? So next thing, I'm just sadly taking that off and putting on a cowboy hat. Look at that guy. Look at that guy.
I think you went with the right choice.
Thank you. I think
For
I look
sure.
pretty dapper. I look like I'm in the movie Maverick.
I was just gonna say you could have been cast as an extra in Maverick.
Yep.
Weird that we both.
I'd
watched the
lose in the
same
first
movie.
round of the Steamboat Poker
He looks
game.
like the dude that tows your stagecoach. Like you leave your buggy and horse outside, you come back, it's gone.
Exactly.
Yep, that's me.
You know what pulls that off is the gruff. I've only done one of those photos in my life, and I had like a 3-day going, and I can't look badass. I never pulled off the badass.
Right, yeah.
But everybody that looks at that photo is like, damn, badass Jay.
Right.
It was the old time sepia photo
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
gruff and the hat.
Looks legit.
Suddenly I look like
You would look like
Hoosier Huckleberry.
you'd be a great looking old timey guy in a picture.
Well, right there. You got it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's about as old timey as it gets.
like
Victorian era Jay.
It look like the sun. His life has a sunset. It's just.
You're
I don't
Captain
even-
America on the bench at the end. Just looking out, thinking about life.
Oh my God. Is my hair that gray?
No, this is a gray T-shirt.
Black out. I got to breathe every time they show. I got to hold my breath.
I know.
Hey, what's that? Ain't that the Mercator thing where you put it around the globe and it just looks big? That's why Greenland looks so big.
Greenland, all stretched out flat.
Yep.
All right, whose picks are next?
We just got Jason's last one. We'll go over Jason.
Oh, yeah,
real
let's
quick.
see him.
He was in line with you guys. Brissett was the
getting
only under he was
lightheaded.
taking.
Yeah.
Wow, you and G. Bush exactly.
Yeah,
right.
the under. I'm not optimistic he can throw for 2. I do think Cooper, though, like G was saying earlier, he can hit 1. I think he's going to be better. I think Njoku's going to have a better day than he had.
I think the Hunt. If I was going to throw money on one of those, I would throw a lot of money on the Hunt.
Yeah, that did seem.
I saw that and I'm like, wait, what?
No, actually, I like the Chubb one.
That's like 2021 Hunt.
The Chubb one was easiest for me.
Well, 67 total yards.
He had 71 total on Sunday.
And that was like,
Yeah, but they
missed him wide open.
And we saw what this offense with both of them in it together can look like. That's what I hope we see a lot more of.
Did anybody mention yesterday or in the post game about why Njoku wasn't involved as much? I missed so much.
We
what did they
talked
say?
It
Sum it
never
up.
came up in post game. I think he was, because I was at the game and I said halfway through the third quarter, I'm like, is David Njoku in the stadium? Did he call in sick? I think that, and I still haven't gone back and watched the game. Yesterday, I had a bad day. I'm going to rewatch it today. I think he just stayed in and blocked a lot.
I said that about Bell.
Yeah.
Like,
Both
where's Bell?
Davids got left in the cold.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Bad day for Davids.
Let's talk Guardians.
You don't want to show us Bulls?
We didn't make one for Bull.
Oh, okay.
If you're not here, we're not going to
Wow,
make
Bull, out of sight, out of mind, bro.
He sent him in.
Okay, what are his picks?
I think he took 2 unders. I'll pull it up real quick.
Probably the 1.5 touchdowns.
Everyone sent him in but Brad. So Brad was
That's some BS right there.
Brad's
Come on, Brad.
0-5.
That's kind of his tagline now, isn't it? Did you see
Dang.
the Twitter thing that somebody they sent in the text group yesterday?
What did they say?
Yeah.
Brad,
He took
Brad
all
on
5
a
overs,
t-shirt.
by the way. He took all 5 overs. Bull.
Oh, wow.
He and I.
Optimistic.
That's rare that he.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, the
like on
sassy Brad
anything.
meme should take off.
Yeah, I think sassy Brad.
That was funny. Who did that mean?
Now are we going Guardians?
Yes.
Or
We're going to show one meme. Are
you going to show the Brad?
Let's take a tag board real quick.
All right.
That's how we feel when Brad is sending us his bets.
That is so good.
There is some sass to that look, though. You see what I'm saying?
And he says that he has said that a number of times. That's some BS
Yep.
right there.
But look,
And the look, dude.
that's side
Usually after a
eye.
real well-timed dramatic pause.
Okay, that also does not look like Brad Sellers.
Kinda, yeah.
I just like that it looks like he just saw a ghost.
right.
You
Like,
know what he
Sellers
looks like? It's a Scooby-Doo episode.
100%.
When he finds out that the kids busted him for being behind the
Uh-oh.
you know,
and he would have got away with it too.
that's some BS right there.
Hey, y'all ain't gonna ski mess with OG.
Let's
OG
talk
ain't
little
here to
Guardians,
protect
though. They got
yourself.
a
We
big,
still have that K. York high.
big homestand coming up. They won last night.
You know what? I am so disgusted with the attendance from last night's game.
Talk that attendance, Jay.
12,000 fans on a beautiful 6:10 start so the kids can get home
Yep.
and get to bed before a late hour for school the next day. 12,000 was the announced attendance. I don't think there were 12,000
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot of vendors sitting down.
Yeah, and probably the season ticket holders that just said, yeah, I'm not going to go. I don't get it, Jason. We're mid-September. They're now 3 games up on the White Sox, 5 games up on the Twins. And by the way, aside from the fact that you get the chance to watch the Guardians, when I was young, I used to look at who is in town and when.
Absolutely.
Oh, Seattle's coming. I want to see Griffey.
Absolutely.
So the one thing that I was really excited, I thought they'd get 25,000 last night. They didn't get half that. The one thing that I was most excited about was Ohtani
Yep.
is going to be perhaps a back-to-back MVP in the American League. I mean, Judge might win it in the end. Ohtani gets my vote. You've got, coming into yesterday's game, you had Mike Trout going for history, and he got it. He's homered now in 7 straight games. He's the only right-hander in history to do that. If he homers tonight, he ties Dale Long, Don Mattingly, and Ken Griffey as the only major league players to hit home runs in 8 straight games. Like, I'd want to be there for that. And is it apathy? Have they had enough of the Dolans? Is it the Guardians name change? How do you explain this?
You can't explain it. I do think it's some of all of that. I do think that there's some bitterness and hurt, resentment, and feelings over the name change still. I don't understand it, but people...
It's real, though.
How do these numbers compare to last year, though, pre-name change?
Well, I mean...
I really don't know. I'm asking.
I don't think they're significantly less. They're always in the bottom 3, 5 in attendance.
Well, and it's really tough, too, because COVID... Like, you have to go back to 2019.
Yeah, you're right.
To get the last fair base from attendance.
Yeah.
The teams, oddly enough, were pretty similar in terms of win-loss
success
records.
at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this team is better and in
Yes.
better position to make a playoff push. But I don't get it, and I'm scared to death because in this age of cities like Charlotte and Vegas and Memphis and Nashville that are saying to leagues, we'll build stadiums. Mm-hmm. We'll build $1 billion state-of-the-art stadiums. I don't know how Cleveland holds on to a baseball team long term, and I know that the new deal is signed, and they are here through.
I think it's was it 15 years?
Yeah, I think it's 34 or 5. I don't know. We'd have to look that up. I think it is 15 years. But like beyond that, we're losing population. Cities like Charlotte, Vegas, Nashville are burgeoning populations.
Charlotte's
and
exploding.
Charlotte is an incredible city.
I walked past
too.
their stadium just this past week too.
Right.
They have a triple league.
They treat their AAA team like a
triple
major
A team
league
there.
team.
Yeah, and they're
Fans
I think
go.
it's the Knights, is it?
Yeah, the Charlotte Knights.
Beautiful stadium.
It is
It was a
gorgeous.
gorgeous stadium, and
And they're dying for Major
and
League
it's
Baseball.
right downtown. It's a perfect spot.
I think Nashville's on the list before Charlotte.
They probably are.
I think I spent about an hour on the phone with the guy who's trying to bring baseball to Nashville for a piece we were doing on could the Indians leave at the Indians at the time. Could the Indians leave and go to Nashville? I think Nashville's on the list higher than Charlotte. Nashville's got an incredible thing set up going with they want singers to come in and do sort of stays like they do in Vegas.
Right.
And build that around the stadium and all that. It's nothing we have to worry about right now because the lease is extended for 15 years. But
Thank God.
I said it, last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know that Cleveland can support 3 teams. We don't have any proof that they can support 3 teams.
I said that weeks ago. I say, Cleveland has never had 3 teams be good at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it makes you fall into this false sense of security that, yes, we are a 3-team city and we do support them. No, not really, because 2 of the teams are usually terrible at the same time.
Yeah, but one of those teams we'll support regardless.
And one of them,
no
the
matter
Browns.
what, the Browns.
That's it.
Now, I will say this.
So you never have to worry there.
For me, I just look at it from a pure economic standpoint. I look at it like this. We go to restaurants, right? We buy cars.
Yeah.
We do things. If you go to a dealership and they rub you the wrong way, they're trying to put you in something that you don't want. You say, I ain't never going back there again, right? You go to a restaurant, all it takes is one time.
I know, bad experience.
One time. And people now are even more fickle than fans are fickle. Think about it. We talk about the Browns. Mm-hmm. How many people jumped off the Browns?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, and that's the Browns. Some people jump from them because of the Deshaun Watson and a lot of other things, and they're like, no, I'm going to go do some other stuff. I think right now, economically, from a standpoint, people have other options. You really have to work for every customer you get anywhere. And I just think baseball and sports, that's a reality, too. Think about it, Jason. All these basketball arenas ain't filled. The numbers are down to a certain extent, too.
The team is winning. It'd be one thing if they were, like the Angels are, for crying out loud. Then I could say, well, you know what? Nobody wants to go watch a loser. This team is filled with heart, hustle. They really exemplify our spirit, our lunch bucket, give it everything you have mentality. And they're winning. They're in first place by 3 games going into the final 3 weeks of the regular season, and we're putting 12,000 asses in the seats over there.
They got to win a championship. They got to win a World Series.
Teams depend on their season ticket base for attendance numbers. You're never going to get a walk-up crowd of 20,000, 25,000. It's very rare. And I've spoken to a handful, not a huge number, but a handful of high-money people in town who have season tickets to all 3 teams. And all of them say they are most frustrated with the Guardians over the Browns and Cavs and the way that they treat season ticket holders and some of the schemes that they pull
I've
in
heard
terms
the same
of pricing.
thing.
Yeah, in terms of pricing. If there's a rain out, you have to pay more for the makeup. And I don't know all the ins and outs, but there's just ways that they go about it that infuriates a lot of their season ticket holders. And the Cavs by and large, get the best reviews in terms of how season ticket holders are treated and some of the perks that they get.
And the worse the Cavs are, the better they treat you, too. And as it should be,
yeah,
really,
right.
which is what they do.
And there is a level of trust because Dan Gilbert spends.
Yes.
Because they won the championship, people view Dan Gilbert in a much higher status than they do the Dolans, despite me screaming for years.
No one's done more with less.
No one's, and I like the Dolans, the way that the structure that they provide, the stability they provide the organization is the way you want your franchise run. The Cavs, until Dan Stroke, were the most volatile team, and it was not really a healthy work environment for a lot of those people.
Right.
But the fans don't see that. The fans look at payroll, and they look at, well, that team won a championship, and he spends. We like that guy. We don't like the Dolans.
Short term versus long term.
And I just wonder if anything would have changed if the Guardians Indians would have won the World Series.
I do. Some people discount that. They say, well, they're competitive.
You cement lifelong fans that way.
Yes.
In the younger generation where we're losing fans anyhow.
Yeah.
in the
It's
game.
interesting because as much as people want to scream about the Dolans, it's like, what if they won Game 7? What would you say then? Because the Dolans did everything they could. They didn't lose that game. They provided all the resources. They did everything they could to win that game.
The
And they
irony,
lost Game
though,
7.
the irony though is, and you know, I remember the Jason Kipnis. I don't want to say being critical of the fans, but he basically said,
I remember that.
Why did you guys sell your tickets?
Yep.
Yeah.
Every fan base in America dreams of one thing: hosting a Game 7 for a pennant, for a title, for a championship.
Yep.
And you sold your tickets.
You sold your tickets.
Well, that's true, and that stinks. But you're also saying that to a group of people who are from a far more impoverished city. I know that these were ticket holders, and you have Chicago money, who also have not won a title in how long?
I understand.
So imagine the kind of money
I
these
have.
people.
I have a very good friend who came in from Chicago and spent $4,000
exactly.
for 2 tickets.
It was everything to them.
It's a lot of money.
And it is a lot of money.
If we were
and
playing
Chicago
the Marlins, that probably wouldn't have been it probably wouldn't have been a problem.
Still, like I'm not going to say personal situations. I understand that everybody's situation is different, but you've spent the money. Like you own the ticket, and you traded the golden ticket.
Right.
Would Browns fans have
cash.
sold?
No,
would Browns fans
no,
sell an
we-
AFC
I was
Never.
going to that. No.
Never.
That Cavs fans wouldn't even
Because
do it.
if they're playing an AFC Championship game at First
Right.
Energy,
Oh.
that stadium could be 300,000 in size, and they would pack it.
Right.
And so I pulled up some attendance figures because your question was fascinating. You know, how does it stack up? And I'm really blown away by this, but I remember now. Go back to 2010. Okay, 17,000, 11, 22,000.
These are the averages?
Yes.
Okay.
Averages. 22,000 in 2011. 19,000 the next year. 19,000.
Is this just
18,000.
Guardians, just for the MLB?
This is the Guardians.
Guardians.
Indians at the time. 19,000. 2014, 18,000. 2015, 17,000. 2016, in which they had an unbelievable run in June, and it kind of coincided with what the Cavs were when the Cavs were winning the championship. 2016, they were one run from winning the World Series. They averaged 19,000 fans. Fast forward to 2019, that was the last pre-pandemic year. They were up to 22,000. Now, what did they do differently? They spent money. They did spend money on those late teen years.
You saw the uptick in the Edwin Encarnacion.
Yes,
signing
they
after
went
the
out
World
and made
Series.
the big
Switcher.
off-season acquisition. It was only one or two guys, but you saw the payroll over $100 million. They haven't been anywhere near there since. But it was interesting. After the World Series, the next season, the attendance went to 25,000, from 19 to 25, and they didn't win it. Imagine had they won it. The next year, from 25 to 24. The next year, from 24 to 22. That was the last pre-pandemic year. Obviously, in 2020, there were no fans. 2021, last year, they were all the way down to 14,000 again, and they spent no money. The Dolans, from the outside looking in, looked like they were completely cash-strapped. They had
much of that was still pandemic too.
I was told by someone that every Major League Baseball team has an emergency fund, just in case the cataclysmic, not it wasn't for a pandemic, but it was, you got to have an emergency.
Right.
Not the Dolans, they don't have it. So when the pandemic nearly wiped out a lot of teams, it forced the Dolans to come back the next year with what looked like a AAA roster, with no money being spent. So their attendance went from
It's not a great
22
position to be in.
to 14, and this year they're averaging. It doesn't say for 2022 where we are because this is through 21. I'd be surprised if we're averaging over 14,000 a game. Can you call that up?
Yeah, I can bring it up. But again, it goes to the season ticket base. Like that's the primary source of your ticket revenue is going to be off the season ticket sales. And you can see where, and I even made the point of, hey, they had gate receipts all the way up until Game 7 of a World Series. Like that extra postseason money makes a massive difference in what you can then, because then they go and sign Edwin Encarnacion. And then what happened? They were swept by Houston. They got one home game.
What did they spend after 16 after going to the World Series?
It went down.
It went down.
Yeah,
So, and seems like it should have gone up.
You know what, though? I liked all the moves they made. They were making strategic 1 or 2 year deals with guys who had performed at the major league level.
They don't like that.
And they were name players. And they brought them in, and then when that playoff money dried out, they were done.
Where I come from, it's called big bang, take little bang, right? If you plan to win, it's hard to tell somebody, hey, I want you to come see my team, yet I'm not going to spend the level of money that I really should to compete, but I do just still need you to come on down to the restaurant and eat this food, and they don't have the greatest of vegetables. The service is great, but what about the meal? I think you really have to say, if they won the World Series, you can build from that.
Absolutely.
That's cachet. If they won this year, people next year would say, I got to make a decision. Do I want to go see the World Series champs, or do I want to see an upstart Cavs team? Some people might still go to the Cavs, but you're competing at a different level.
Yeah, you're fighting for those entertainment
World Series, now it's a different level. It's a different level.
17,000 is this year, 17,100.
Okay, so that's up. Now, I can't remember. Were there any restrictions for attendance at all in 21?
I don't believe so.
It seems to me that there was early in the season.
I feel like you're right.
I feel like they had like a 12,000 seat cap.
My brain is
because that was still the 6 feet.
But I
think can't remember.
Right.
So you did mention though the year that they got Swisher and Bourne, that the attendance went up that year though, right? Is that what you said?
I was
regardless.
handing out
I can still remember that campaign.
The
when
big
they
bump
got
was
them,
in
though.
17, coming off this World Series
and
appearance.
even then, they were never in the top half of it.
No, you're still at 25,000, and we're applauding that.
Yeah,
That's why my long-term question is, what is the future of baseball in Cleveland? And I don't mean up until 35 or 38, whenever this contract expires with the city.
Right.
I'm talking beyond that.
Right.
Because right now, we've got I think, one of the best managers in the game. We have the youngest team at the major league level in first place, playing their tails off.
Yep.
It's intoxicating watching these guys because they're having fun and they're winning.
I'm trying to come up with solutions for this attendance problem, though, and trying to understand why it is this way. And I'm thinking of that year that we signed those guys, and those guys it didn't work out with them, and for the team. But it didn't matter because I want to know if that was still. I remember them being in front of a marketing campaign that year for the Indians. Like they used that. They were on the tickets. They were on the billboards and stuff.
I don't know.
But it might have been worth it, and the attendance might have gone up just because they made some moves. And I think maybe fans want to see that you're willing to make these moves, even if they don't pay out.
No, you
if
can't.
They show.
It's not worth it because they still talk about the misses of Bourne and Swisher and how much it impacted.
It sets them back.
Yeah, how much it set them. And I've talked to people in the organization who say, we cannot make those mistakes
no,
again. It's
not this franchise. Yankees can do that all day long. The Indians do that
because they're too scared to try again.
Well, no, they don't have the funds to make up for it. Like the Yankees just spend their way out of mistakes. So, okay, we got to,
Now,
like the Tigers couldn't do that with the Miggy deal, and that's why they've lost 100 games every year for the last 7 or 8.
So here's what's interesting. Now the David Blitzer Group's coming in as minority owner. There is a pathway in place. He has no ties to Cleveland.
No.
Right.
So that's where your concern comes in of 15 years down the line if this doesn't change.
Yeah.
And you have an owner who's
I don't
not
think
from
that's
here.
going to keep him from wanting to win here. I think I've told you guys my cousin is very, very high up in the Blitzer organization.
Here we go.
Well, I've talked to him a lot about this, and obviously there's some things I can't divulge, but I can tell you that overall, I get a really good feeling that this guy is involved with us. Just take a look at how he's managed his other sports teams.
Yes.
Not afraid to write checks. He's also, I think, and this is a very small piece of it because I don't think he owns a very big part of it, but Matt Collig being involved, I talked to him about a month ago at the stadium, and I don't want to speak too much out of school for Matt. I know he's thrilled with his NASCAR teams, but that was his new shiny toy a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I could see in his enthusiasm and talking about the Guardians, like that. To me, it felt like now that's his new shiny toy.
Hopefully he gets bored. We want him to get bored with NASCAR.
I want more Matt Collig involved in this. I want more from the Blitzer group because they can write checks to get the payroll where it needs to be, to get the fan base reinvigorated to start going back to progressive.
And that's what I was going to say is that as they do this, because they have all these plans, and I've talked about this, for the development around Progressive Field. They want to redo that area, mixed-use development, all that stuff. If they can take that money, pour it back into payroll, maybe you reinvigorate the fan base. My point is, if it doesn't work and attendance is still at 15,000 in 2031, 2032, you're going to have a real problem.
Charlotte or Vegas or Nashville is going to swoop in and they're going to write a check and they're going to take our team.
Obviously, it's not a concern for today. It's not a concern for right now.
I'll be dead by then.
This is long-term projection.
At some point,
I hope not, Mike.
At some point, you got to say, if I'm going down to the boat dock and I'm out here trying to hang out with Jay, you got to know you ain't got no boat money, dog. I can't be mad that my little pontoon ain't doing what it's supposed to do. At some point, you can't be in the game unless you have a certain level of money. That's the reason they don't let you go to the mortgage place and say, give me the $500,000 house. Where you work at? Wendy's. I know they're giving $20 out at Wendy's. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but you got to start at levels.
Your metaphors are fire today, by the way. Your metaphors throughout the day have been on point.
Jason, I think you back this up. Dolan didn't have that expendable cash. That's why we now have a Matt Collig in the family, and we have Blitzer in the family. They're here to help write checks to offset some of the expenses of running a team.
Yes, but it was made clear to me at spring training, like, these guys are not just going to come in and start writing checks to cover losses.
Because it wasn't even official in spring training.
No, but the point was even long term. It's not like, and I kind of tried to look at John Sherman when his money came in. Okay, that's where the payroll went up, and then when his money came out, it went back down. And I was told basically, well, it was really the BAMTech money that made it go up.
Yeah, all of the teams got that big windfall from BAMTech.
Are we glossing? Go ahead.
It's not necessarily the minority owner. Like,
it is a coincidence, though, with Sherman. The timing of it.
I think it was.
And I think he was spending money with this team.
But, like, I've talked to minority owners in different teams, and I've talked to front office people about being a minority owner. Like, now, I think it's different with Blitzer because there's a pathway for him to be majority owner. And it's the same when Sherman came in. Basically, when you come in as a minority owner, you've already been vetted. So you're on the fast track if another team becomes available. And that's what happened with Sherman in Kansas City. His hometown team became available. There was no real clear-cut plan in place of when he was going to take control here, so he's gone.
Isn't that what happened with Haslam and the Steelers? What happened with Haslam and the Steelers?
I hope he's not greasing the skids to buy a team somewhere else.
Well, I don't think that's the case. It's because there's, and it's my understanding when it was Sherman, it was kind of really open-ended of when there was going to be sort of a handing over of, and I think it's a little bit clearer now with the Blitzer group of when that's going to be.
Well, I believe it's written in where he assumes more ownership of the team as the years go by until eventually he's at 51%.
But without that, just being a minority owner in a team,
it's not a good place to be.
You're not in on all the major. You're not in on the decision making of who you should trade, who you should sign.
Don't you?
They don't really listen to you. It's really more of an ego boost. It's a little juice to say that you've got, I'm an owner of whatever, but you're not consulted on any major decisions.
Ain't nobody talking to Usher. Ain't nobody call Usher. Hey, Usher, man.
Usher was, Usher's like, get me Donovan Mitchell. I'm Usher.
And every situation's different, right? Like when Dan Gilbert had Nate Forbes and I just lost his name. Jeff Cohen.
Yeah.
So when those were his minority partners, they were also his best friends from college.
So there were powwows.
So there was a little bit more, interaction with them. But for the most part, when you're a minority, and again, I've talked to minority owners. You don't get a lot from
So you're writing checks, but you get no juice.
And that's what had when we were talking to Jimmy Haslam at the owners' meetings. Jimmy said, hey, man, we just kind of walked in with the Steelers. He said, I was getting sized for Super Bowl ring before I wrote the equity check. We thought this was easy. But they didn't really have any involvement in the day-to-day team because I said, did being a minority owner with the Steelers prepare you at all for this? And he and Dee laughed. Like they laughed at me and said, no.
So they're basically a donor.
Yeah. And it's
like getting ordained online.
But again, what it does is it gets you in the building. It gets you in the room so that, again, with Jimmy Haslam, when a team becomes available, you've already been vetted by the boys.
That's
and
fascinating.
You're already in the club.
And it works,
so
obviously.
when a team becomes available, you can
Jay,
go.
you're a venture capitalist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you put some things out there. You put a couple of little coins on black, Jason. You've done a couple deals. Y'all do business outside of here. You know how it go. We're going to give you a little stack. We're going to put in. I want my stuff on the backside. Give me the back
But
end.
you know what we do? Like, I'm not saying me or Jason, but I'm saying as investors, when we invest in a 401k, we're giving our money to the expert.
Yeah.
Like, this is the person that knows you want to be in this, you want to be diversified, you want to be in this, we got to do a little bit of that. I don't want to say in that because I love shopping at Home Depot, but I don't know what the stock's going to do.
Right.
So I want to trust the expert there that they know how to spend my money. So I guess it's kind of the same thing. He's giving it, but I gotta have ultimate faith that when I give this money to Dolan,
He know who to
he's going to
pick.
spend it wisely. And you know what? I think the track record is he has. What the money that he has spent, nobody in baseball over the last 10 years has won more games with less.
Yeah, but what are you saying? You're saying that if he spent more, then we would
They would be
lose
great.
more?
No, what I'm saying is,
Or would they be
if
better
you spent $45 million
Sure.
and can be in first place,
Right.
3 weeks left in the season,
Right.
Just imagine how that same front office can operate. It'd be like somebody going to a blackjack table,
Right.
And they're counting cards and they're slaying it, but they're playing $10 hands. Now let's take them to the $1,000 table.
That's what I'm saying.
Take that same
Yes.
theory and premise to the $1,000
They've
table.
proven they can do
You
it with a
should-
little money. I
Right.
don't think they're going to get worse if they had more money.
No, they're not going to get worse.
So
I'm not
congrats
saying
on
that.
doing a great job when you have very little money, but give them some more. They've earned the right to more.
My God, have they earned the right to more?
Now here's the thing. Can I say that are they betting on themselves? Because I tell you like this: if I'm getting money here and I know how much money I got, and I know that I got a great track record of being successful, I'm gonna bet on myself.
Right.
I'll eat chicken noodle soup.
Yes.
My wife won't go on vacation. I'm gonna bet on myself because I feel like I'm gonna get the return on investment.
What did Mitchell say about Andy Reid? I can't remember how he phrased it. I think he said,
He looked
"Trust-"
hilarious in those shorts. He did.
He said, trust the good and don't fear the bad.
Yeah. He said it eloquently, more.
Yeah,
eloquent.
much better than I just said it.
But I felt
But
that.
It should be like a calligraphy tattoo
And I'm
right
like-
there, by the way.
Right, but I mean, if you think about Andy Reid he's going to trust his guys that
Yep.
something good's going to happen. He's not going to fear that something bad's going to happen. You can do that when your track record is I bring winners in.
Yes.
And the Guardians Indians track record is they bring in winners.
Yes.
Now imagine if instead of eating at the little kids table, they could eat at the big boy table and have the budget of the Dodgers and the Coastal teams and the Yankees. What would the limit be?
I don't think it'll ever be that. They'll never be
can't
in the
be that.
Dodgers.
The economics won't
But
let
they
it.
could be. I'm just going to throw out the Cardinals are even high end, but they could be middle of the road, top 15.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to happen next year. Just because they have these new ownership groups coming in, it's not going to be overnight. I think you're going to see it over 4 or 5 years. Again, as they build up the area around Progressive Field, as they try and do stuff
Jay,
outside and funnel it back in.
What's left in 4 or 5 years? Our attendance is trending down. At
Well,
some point,
let's see, to G's point, if they can make a postseason run here,
win.
you should see the boot because, again, it goes back to your season ticket base. No one's buying season tickets right now for this season. But possibly if you get a good run in this year and you get some good feeling of good things to come, possibly you see the bump next year. They have to get creative in season ticket and packages and everything else. But if you can increase your season ticket base, you're going to increase your attendance long term.
Yeah.
I love that we didn't have insurance for COVID. We were the one team that didn't. We were just riding dirty like with my sister with no car insurance, just hoping she hasn't hit anybody.
Hey, man, who cares? We're socialists, right? We get that PPP money. No, I'm playing with
We're like,
y'all.
oh, we really
See, you wouldn't have thought that even came from me. Final takes, right? Look,
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
we got to
it.
do final takes, and I know Polk always has something special up his sleeve. And Jason today has requested something special for final takes, so I wanted to make sure we had enough time to get this all in. So, Jason, when you're ready, sir, take it away.
Would you spend $16 to humiliate a coach that you hate? Because that's what the people of Iowa are doing. Iowa. Like, you think of Iowa as like these sweet, corn-fed people who just love everyone. No. Bob Stoops' cameo price is $10. Somebody duped Bob Stoops. Now, if you don't know the backstory, Brian Ferentz is the offensive coordinator at Iowa, and things have not gone well for the Hawkeyes. I think they've scored like 10 points in 2 games. Of course, nepotism is at play here because Brian is the son of head coach Kirk Ferentz, and Iowans are tired of Brian Ferentz. They want him gone. So some genius went to Bob Stoops' cameo and paid him $10 to make a cameo for Bob to encourage Brian to leave the family business. Go ahead.
This is funny.
Hello there, Brian. Bob Stoops here saying hi. And listen, I know you've had a tough couple of 2-3 years there, but the good news is your family still supports you, buddy, especially your dad. He wants you to know that. But and even though everyone else seems to be against you, sometimes the best advice is to break free from the family business, man. Go do what you got to do. So anyhow, all the best to you, and a big boomer sooner, and good luck.
Oh, man.
That's amazing. For $10, they just humiliated the entire Ferentz family.
That is
but
fantastic.
It gets better because they went to Fran McCaffrey, the head basketball coach at Iowa, and they paid him $6 to say this.
I didn't realize there was a second one, Jason.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't realize there was a second one.
No,
You can get it quick.
Fran
But no,
McCaffrey.
we have to, for sound, we can't put it through tag.
Oh, okay.
Jason, that's on me.
That's
Hand
okay.
up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Fran McCaffrey also went on basically saying the same thing of, Brian, I know you're down on your luck and sorry, but, better times are ahead. Leave the family business and all that. Now, in their defense, obviously Bob and Fran had no idea what the story really was behind it. And they both say on their cameo that all the money that they raise, they send to charity because these guys are millionaires and they don't need $16, $10, and $6. But that is, in the day of social media, in the age of social media, that might be the best trolling job I have ever seen. It was incredible. I'm sure Bob and Fran feel awful today, but as we know, once it's out there, and there's no taking it back. So we'll wait and see what happens if Bob's message gets through to Brian and Brian leaves the family business.
That is great.
That was great.
Hey, man.
It said underneath him, the best cameo ever. That's the best final take ever. I mean, that is absolutely priceless.
That was amazing.
That's why you got to keep your cameo price higher, though, to make it a little harder to prank.
Yeah, the barrier
You know
of
what I
entry
mean?
is $6. The dude at the docks is down there thinking while he's unloading boxes all day.
Yeah.
How can I get this dude
For
fired?
it's worth it for
I
$10.
think Bull charges more than $6 for his cameos, and you get the head coach of the Iowa basketball team for
$6.
$6.
That's what, according to the cameo, I checked his cameo page this morning, and that's what it
crazy.
was.
Well,
You
it is a
think-
charity play,
for-
too. So
It is a charity play,
it's
but
for
you would,
charity,
you would
so-
think that he would have better things to do with his time than make $6
Yeah.
cameos.
That's 20.
Bob Stoops is retired and doing
well,
the XFL
he's doing
whatever.
football TV now.
Yeah, but he's got more time than a
3
Division I
cameos,
head basketball
charge
coach.
$25 and do one of them for $25 rather than 3 for
Right.
$24. I'm sorry, guys. This is easy math.
You could get 2 Bob Stoops and 2 Kirk Ferentz for the price of 1 Bull cameo.
Wow.
Well, I have to tell you,
Two Stoops.
not that anybody would ever want any of our cameos, but I do know people that are in our business that do it. And
I'm about to get on there now.
yeah,
What
but
you talking about?
I'll tell you what I was told by someone who did it and got burned just like this.
Yeah.
It was a different situation. It was a husband and wife thing that was nasty.
Oh.
And my buddy got played and he had no idea.
pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was really, really awkward for him, and it was just a bad situation. It ain't worth it, bro. There's some money that you reach down to pick up, and there's some that you walk over. Because somebody
We'll get you.
will get you. They're going to get you.
By the way, I did cameo like 2-3 times. Like I sent it to some people, right? And I tried to get this rapper to give his top 5 list. And he was like, "Oh no, you trying to set me up, dog? I'm not gonna give my top 5 list." And it was like $200, like $250 for his cameo.
That's intense.
And he was just like, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm not going." I wanted him to give him to his top 5, and obviously, 3 of those top 5 people he had a problem with. I didn't know he had a problem, but I could see where you'd be like, "Nah, I ain't doing that."
I hired a Jack Sparrow impersonator to do a happy birthday cameo for my friend John. I said he's a huge fan, not just of Jack Sparrow the character, but of you as a performer. And then so he just sent him, and I go, and he'd love a sea chanty. So he pulled out a guitar at the end. It was the best. It was like $4. I recommend it. Okay, so here's my final thought. This one's a quick one, I promise. I'm excited to be playing the New York Jets this week. mostly because they're trash. And I also love that they're parading out Joe Flacco, who has, I believe, a 20-3 record against the Browns lifetime. And it's revenge time. I know you're weak. I know you're an old, toothless lion at this point. I don't care. That blood will taste the same. We're taking down Joe Flacco, thank God. And here's how happy I am. In honor of us playing the Jets, these will be Zach Wilson jokes at the expense of his renowned love of MILFs. Here's how happy I am to be playing the Jets this week. I'm as happy as Zach Wilson at a PTA meeting.
Oh.
I'm as happy as Zach Wilson at the Great Northern Mall Yankee Candle Store.
Whoa. You're right. Dang, you're right.
I'm as happy as, there's just 2 more guys. I'm as happy as Zach Wilson with lawn seats at a Carol Carpenter concert.
Oh, my goodness.
Final one. I'm as happy as Zach Wilson staring into the front window at a Curbs gym. That's how happy I am to be playing the Jets this weekend. That's my final take.
Pretty good.
Thanks.
You're stupid. I listen. I don't even got much for this, man. We'll go with the Browns, man. Y'all thinking about this is the whole way around messed up. Everybody is trying to approach the Browns like they the old school Browns. The best way to handle this is to go into it with no expectations at all. It's like blind dating. You don't know what you're getting from Jacoby Brissett, and as long as you come out with a win, you just take it and keep rocking with it. You don't expect anything good the next week. He could be terrible the next week. They can fumble 65 times, or they can hit game-winning field goals from like 60 yards. Always remember, you're in a countdown to 11. That's it. You have 10 more. Survive these 10 by any which way possible. I don't care if they give us calls. The other team goes on COVID protocol. I can say that now because there's multiple vaccines and people don't really die like that. But I will say that's just saying. Anyway, listen, go out, look at the Browns, have a good time with it, and just remember, you only got 10 more of these. Do it the best way you can, and just enjoy it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I'll be quick. We're running out of time. College football kids, wow. We haven't even really talked about what happened Saturday. It was a 9.9 on the Richter scale, if you didn't notice, because we were all thinking about the Browns and the Panthers game. But you had Notre Dame lose to Marshall. Ooh. You had Nebraska lose another game that inexplicably Frost is out. They fired him already. Kentucky beat Florida. I'm missing some big ones.
Appalachian State.
Appalachian State. The reason I'm going there
McNuggets, you want
is
to talk?
No comment on that game.
we are seeing now, and by the way, Texas almost shocked the entire college football universe. If not for a late drive by Alabama on a last-second field goal, Texas stuns Alabama. But we've talked recently about the narrowing, sort of the coming together of the masses in college football and how NIL is going to change things. And I'm not saying that these upsets happen because of NIL, but Marshall had a couple of players on their roster that they would not have had otherwise if it wasn't for NIL. And they go out there and they beat Notre Dame, which Ohio State fans suddenly are scratching their heads saying, wait a minute, we didn't exactly – I mean, they struggled against Notre Dame. There's no other way to put it. So my point here is there seems to be this year, and I know there's upsets every year, but it seems that there's been a leveling of the playing field in college football, even though after week one we thought, yep, it's Alabama, Georgia, and then everybody else. Maybe that's not the case. And when you've got teams like Marshall, Appalachian State, Kentucky beating Florida, perhaps college football is about to get a whole lot more entertaining in the years to come. NIL, man.
I told we was arguing with Bull. I said, look, man, I have never seen so many people say transfer portal, and I'm like, Marshall, where did they get these thoroughbreds from?
Wait, can I say one thing on that?
Sure.
It's not NIL. It's the transfer portal and the free transfer
It's
now,
the
more
transfer
than anything else.
It is the transfer portal, but that's the new college football. That didn't exist 5 years ago.
I know, but I'm saying.
And guys are taking advantage of it. And so I'm with you. We don't know. I don't know when teams have to talk about their NIL deals and their players. Like,
Never.
So
never have to.
So how do we know that those guys, that Marshall getting these studs? How's that happening?
But that's more transfer than it is NIL, and it could be related to
No,
NIL.
But if they don't tell you.
What I'm saying is, if you go to Huntington, West Virginia,
There's nothing.
I'd rather
no, there's Marshall football. And I got to tell you, that community is nuts about Marshall football. And if you've got a car dealer in town that says, you get this one, and this one, and they get a free car for as long as they play football
those are
here.
recruits, though.
I know they're transfers, but what I'm saying, McNuggets, is they perhaps, with no transfer portal benefits, instead of transferring from Florida State to Marshall, they're going from Florida State to Texas or Florida State to Notre Dame.
That's what they do, yes.
And that's what they're doing. They're guys that were big recruits out of high school that never really panned out where they were, and then suddenly they get a transfer because Marshall football is well represented in Huntington, West Virginia. The people in the Huntington-Charleston area care about that, and they're going to start getting players that were highly recruited out of high school that never really got the opportunity at their blue chip school to go to another school and get benefits from rich donors that live in that city that just want the football team to be good.
It's rich people
and that was
everywhere.
never part of the landscape before.
We're arguing the same point, just in a different way. I'm saying
no, you're saying it's all transfer portal and not NIL.
No, but people say the NIL is ruining college football.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm saying the transfer portal is more detrimental to the balance of power in college football.
If there was NIL without transfer portal, you wouldn't be seeing the shift of power. I don't think. Because guys would have to make those decisions out of high school, but because they can transfer so easily, and because these programs in places like Marshall and in Appalachian State,
App State's quarterback was a former 5-star McDonald's All-American.
Does that happen in any other universe than the one we're living in right now?
No.
It doesn't. Does Deion Sanders get the #1 recruit to come to a historically black college if it's not for the world we're living in now?
That's an FCS school.
I know it is.
They led on SportsCenter. I saw Skip talking about Jackson State.
So how can that be a bad thing?
Hey, it's all good. That NIL money is good. I'm telling you what, they're getting. It's a lot of people rich.
I'm all for it. Spread it around. Let these kids earn the money that they deserve.
Cool.
Anything else? What's on tomorrow?
Leroy Robert, defensive breakdown, and true or false.
Oh, I love true or false.
Yeah.
We got a good one. We got a
coming off a
defensive
win.
player.
Coming off that win, dog.
They should have gave me a 0.5 on that win.
We got our first defensive player tomorrow, by the way. Not telling you who, but it's a defensive player.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Well, I'll just go home and study 27 guys for the next 22 hours.
Give me these bios.
We're back tomorrow at 5. Bull is going to be here. If everything goes as according to plan, Bull will be here. Bull, we're thinking about you. Rest up. No stress. Stress-free life. Okay? See you back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
ACC Airfoil!
Go to